It's Sunday. Sunday. Cecil's double chin ball says, I want to be radicalized. Well, you've come to the right place.
Yes, you have.
We are one of the outlets for radicalization now.
We are.
Oh, yeah, I've heard about that.
And so I have a bunch of Disney employees that are tweeting it out as well.
Oh, so they found something new to do. Okay.
No, I'm pretty sure they're behind it.
When Al Qaeda comes to get you, they're going to move in right next door. When Al Qaeda comes to get you.
And we're canceled.
And we're canceled again.
God damn it, Rob.
Hello.
Hello.
You do better, Cecil, than I do. Hello.
I was canceled.
Better music than the Grammys.
It was the greatest vacation I ever had.
Better D Bud Martin says better music than at the Grammys. I'm like, yeah, the Grammys are still a thing.
Yeah.
Expect the headline tomorrow: Grammys lowest rated broadcast ever.
Probably. Yeah, like was that so? Is that what Bill Burr did, or where he was at? I thought it was the Latino Grammys or some shit.
Well, best
or was for the Latino
award. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. For those who don't know what happened, and they were waiting in the bushes for Burr to say something, just anything to pounce on, and he made a feminist joke and I think a half-assed Latino joke at the Grammys or whatever, and oh yeah, it didn't take no time for Twitter to jump on that shit.
Well, he even said, "I'm sorry, I butchered your name." So I gotta admit that the way I try to pronounce that name, Natalia. Well, I can't remember Natalia. I'm not even gonna attempt to pronounce her last name. I mean, he said, I probably would have pronounced it the same way.
Yeah.
And you can, God knows, and Lord knows nowadays, you can't mispronounce someone's name because, that's insensitive.
Now we just know all dialects and all pronunciations of everything.
I had someone call me, who I knew for 5 years, call me by the wrong name. He called me John. I'm like, no, it's Rob. Yeah, really. I had more reason to get pissed off.
You do not look like a John, even.
Well, yeah, but the point is, I had more reason to get pissed off than people have to get pissed off at Bill Burr. At least he was close.
There's that, yeah.
Well, it was trending, and now it's not. I'm wondering if they quit. They stopped it from trending because people were actually clapping back at it. Maybe,
probably,
because like everything I saw was getting ratioed to hell. And it's just like, deal with it. Oh, well, that's what he does. That's his job. A comedian making a controversial joke. Oh, my goodness, kind of shit. That was all the stuff I kept seeing,
Frackoff Felgercarb says Disney are hypocrites. They still sell Cara Dune on their own website. Of course, they're going to profit from her.
Well, they did cancel the pop figure. But you know who's hosting the Grammys, Rob?
Oh, yeah, the South African Jimmy Fallon.
This is music? I don't get it. It's not funny. We don't have music in South Africa.
We don't have music in South Africa. And I'm intolerable. Please love me, mainstream America.
And we've got a new guest coming in, Mrs. Boss from Sci-Fi for Me TV.
Hang on a second.
Hey,
Let
Jason,
me go correct all of that. I'll be right back.
That's awesome.
How dare white people, Miss Man Squatch?
On the wife's account.
Rob, wait, I thought Spanish was racist. Yeah, how dare people from Spain speak Spanish?
Oh, for fuck's sake! Is this from the Simpsons tonight?
What?
Oh, for crying out loud!
You know what? I do owe the Spanish a very huge debt of gratitude. They're the ones that gave us the guitar.
Hollywood ruins movies.
Unreleased the Snyder. What?
Oh,
stop making things. Some of us are women. Oh, fuck you, Simpsons. You've really done lost it now.
Oh God, I want to.
Wow.
I don't want to know the context.
Lord knows. All right, Jason's back. How you doing?
I'm back. Hi. Sorry.
That's all right. Glinzer sends in a super chat. We finally earned some money, Rob. A more
Hey.
appropriate name, cancer culture. Yeah, it is. It really
Ding.
is. It really, really, really is.
I don't have my sounds up, so I mean.
And yeah, I love cancel culture about as much as I love cancer. So there you go.
I call
CW.
them the cancel cult.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah.
Because they're really acting like that. On the Cara Dune figure, there's some clarification. Mrs. Boss got an email. Apparently, it is just one particular Cara Dune figure. I don't know if it's like a wave 1 or a wave 2, whatever but it's not all of the Cara Dunes. It's one specific one.
Well,
Until they run out of them, probably.
Well, they've already had a couple of pops come out of her, so they're not going to whatever on those. What I think it is one that was pre-ordered, if I'm not mistaken. So
she's got one pre-ordered, and we haven't gotten any notification that it's been canceled. The order has not been canceled yet, so take that for what it's worth.
Yeah. Black Phoenix.
Now? Oh, go ahead.
I was going to say Black Phoenix. Why is the Simpsons still on the air? Who knows at this point? Honestly,
I don't understand. It's more of a prestige thing. It's got to be.
Hey,
I mean, or just because nothing goes up against it in that time period besides America's Funniest Home Videos. I don't know.
Hey, it's not like you could be watching Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi. You know, I mean,
that's at Wednesdays though, not Sunday.
Yeah,
Linda Hamilton's in it, so you know.
Well, you could time shift it and watch it on Sunday.
What? Linda Hamilton's in it? You didn't tell me that, Rob.
Yeah, Linda Hamilton's in Resident Alien Wednesdays on 10 on Sci-Fi.
You should have told me that like there was karate in it, you dumb shit.
But Tom, you weren't exactly warmed up to Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
No, I wasn't. And now that you tell me Linda Hamilton's in it, as long as she's not all wokeified, I'm there.
No, she's not.
She's not all wokeified on Resident Alien Wednesdays.
Like, how the hell do you have her in Terminator Dark Fate and that fucker come off woke?
Like, I don't know.
I just don't get it. The Fezman 93 says, if you think that's bad, try pronouncing Irish names as someone who is. Oh, tell me about it.
Sorsha, that's spelled nowhere close.
They were all made up when we were drunk.
It's spelled Swarzy. Yeah.
Yeah, they were all made up when we were drunk.
Swarzy, whatever. Yeah.
You got to be drunk to say them right.
Siobhan? That's not spelled anywhere close to being pronounced.
That's why
Siobhan.
we came up with easy shit like Connors. So,
Nelson Shredder, $2. Rob, I forgot. What's on Sci-Fi on Wednesdays at 10 p.m.? Why? It's Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
I do want to check it out, though. I've been wanting to get to that and Superman. I just haven't had a chance to. I slept most this fucking weekend.
We caught the 3rd episode of Superman and Lois today. It's still pretty solid.
Well, here's the thing I heard is that they shot 5 episodes and then they went on hiatus.
Yeah.
So like a lot of people are a lot of people are worried when they come back that it's gonna be wokeified.
I'll be right back. I gotta go look for a cat real quick. Hang on.
He's pussy hunting. Stephen Otten says, you started show without me. Damn it, YouTube. Notify me of these things. Hail, Midnight's Edge and everyone in the chat. Yeah, sorry about that, Stephen Otten. It might have been because we set it up real close. I'm like, Rob, you want to stream? He's like, I could stream.
Yeah. Willie Woodward's asking, Rob, didn't I hear Resident Alien was starting to become woke? Actually, it's not. Actually, you could have interpreted it a little bit, but not really. Harry's just a lovable goofball. Yeah. He's an alien.
Now, this is one of the fastest times we've gotten, mostly through a topic already, because like really, like what are they going to do to Bill Burr? Bill Burr is just going to be like, "Fuck you."
Hey, you think I care? Go ahead, try and cancel me, you fuckheads. All right. That's a really, yeah. Oh, Bill Burr, you better be careful. They might cancel you, just like they might cancel me, Trevor Noah.
He's probably like, shit. 10 years ago, nobody could even get my fucking video store card revoked. Now he can't even get canceled. Hey, Mecca.
Hey. So I think he was set up.
They were waiting. Yeah, they were waiting.
Oh, this is like I said,
they did it on purpose. I think they purposely made him because no matter what, just him announcing a Latin Grammy is enough for them to cancel him. So, yeah, I think they're trying to set him up. I think they're trying to go after him. I think they're trying to, which we know they are because they did this hit piece on us. So,
Willie Woodward. Okay, Rob. Thanks. By the way, what time is Resident Alien on again?
Lord knows.
Wednesday.
Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
If only if somebody knew when it was on.
I think Resident Alien is on Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
You sure?
Could be.
But what if I don't? Sci-Fi is still a channel?
Yeah, it is. It's actually
Siffy. It's on Siffy.
It's on Siffy.
Siffy?
Siffy.
Oh, I know Siffy, but I don't have cable.
Okay. Well, I checked the ratings. It's actually pulling out.
Well, Star. You know what sucks? I got the Stars package right now on Amazon. Too bad they don't, because they are connected with. They're all owned by Universal, Sci-Fi and Stars.
NBC, Universal, Comcast.
Yeah, I wish they had that on that, because I got it for dirt cheap for like 6 months. So I'm like, fuck it. I'll never watch it, but hey.
I checked the I checked the ratings for Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi. That's it's actually doing pretty good ratings, 1.2 million for being on a pisshead cable. Yeah, a pisshead cable channel like Sci-Fi. Jeez. Captain Hare, he's got a super chat. I hereby cancel Rob for continuing to weasel his way out of being sacrificed on the altar of Melissa McCarthy. Oh God, Melissa McCarthy's gonna be in Thor: Love and Blunder.
Yeah, but at least she's in a part that's not important. So,
but still, that's
that humor.
Hey, but look at it this way: at least she's being utilized this way and not in some other capacity. Like, I was bummed that they kind of misused Matt Damon, but like, at least now we'll be like, oh, phew, at least nobody else is going to get destroyed. You get my drift?
Yeah.
Oh, Matt Damon rocks. Matt Damon is one of the most underutilized actors.
Matt Damon.
You know what's great is he loved that.
Yeah, he did.
He would, because he's got a sense of humor. He can laugh at himself.
Well, and the funny part is like they're friends.
Matt Damon.
Yeah, and Ben Affleck for that matter too. And that's what's funny about the Ben Affleck episode where he finds his parents who have assholes for faces.
Mom, Dad.
They said it's not. We like it. In the commentary, it's funny because he's like, actually, we like Ben. He's a really cool guy. Yeah, he's fun. He just has the flattest face we've ever seen. And then on the commentary I think it's the commentary for Team America, they're like, yeah, we like Matt Damon. Yeah, we're actually really good friends, but the puppet came out looking retarded, so that's what they said, not me. So.
Matt, Team America's on Blu-ray, right? Yeah, I get the DVD.
Yeah, but it's only the fucking rated version.
I get the DVD. I get the DVD version, but still.
There's only those couple scenes and bits that are different, but the Blu-ray is kind of
the puppets having sex is just.
Well, that's one of the parts that's changed. Yeah, it's the theatrical version where it's just the one angle or whatever instead of the 20 different shots of it.
No, it's where they get rid of the bathroom stuff of it.
Yeah, that shit. Yeah. Well, there's a few other angles they cut out, but. Because I think if I remember right, in the rated version, it just has like the missionary from the behind, and then it goes into like a bunch of wackier positions in the unrated one. And then it gets to the bathroom stuff, like you're saying. Steven, where the fuck are you on my Twitter?
The film
Stephen Walton. I'm trying to send him a fucking link here, and I can't find his ass on my Twitter.
It's at Lodonis.
I know, but what the fuck? It did this to me once before when I was looking for Mr. H. It's not showing up. Oh, there it is. Okay. He changed his fucking logo. You're an asshole, Steven.
Oh, Zach's.
That's why I couldn't find it.
I'm
a visual person.
Zack Snyder Justice League first reactions say HBO Max cut is a hit. Okay, well, all right.
It's actually been getting some pretty positive buzz, but hey, when you compare it to the Justice League, what do you expect? Oh my goodness, we got a bunch of super chats here I didn't even see. Why don't you tell me, Rob? Dash DC? Send in $5 Canadian,
eh? If you're talking to an idiot, you want to know what he is and ignore them. What? You know what he is and ignore him. Why can't we just ignore Twitter wannabes and carry on with and carry on with how we live our lives.
Because they hurt people, they cancel people, they destroy your favorite. Look what happened to Gina Carano. You want season 3 of The Mandalorian? Too bad, you're not getting one. That's why.
Yeah, that's a great. I mean, yeah, I get what you're saying, Dash DC, and I would agree with you, but unfortunately, those so many thousand people that are the Twitterati basically run everything. And welcome, Steven. It's been a spell. How you doing?
Hey, it's been a minute. I've been busy. Thank you so much for having me, guys. Script, good to see you. Queen Mecca, hail. What's up, Rob? How are you, buddy?
What's up, author Stephen Walton?
I am doing well. Just working on this book, trying to get it done. Waiting on Gary. I'm waiting on Gary.
Well, just have me write it instead.
That's a baby. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I'll just move you and Jeff up from 3. Now.
There you go. Sends a super sticker. Thank you so much. I can't do it as well as Andre, though. I kind of can. There you go. Nikki D says, a bit off topic, but are you guys excited for the... Yeah, we just talked about that.
Well, not as excited as I am for Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
And I'm noticing from the chat that came in probably just before we brought it up. But as I said, at least it's saving us from a worse fate.
Which is?
Her playing a better part.
Okay. We just had to restate that. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, of course, she could have been Captain Marvel, and it probably would have been better.
Well, she is a superhero in that Thunderbutt Force, whatever it is.
I know, that's what I'm saying. And I thought that thing came and went.
Thigh Force.
Yeah, I thought that thing came and went. I didn't even know it was still coming out.
Oh no, it's coming in April or something.
And after seeing that, men won't be. The script gets it.
Yeah, people are gonna go blind. Yeah.
Hey,
Well, we
Jason.
get it. It's just not funny.
Oh, we hear ourselves coming back.
Oh, I got it. That was me.
Did anybody hear anything about Godzilla vs. Kong being pushed back a week or two?
No.
It says the 31st, according to.
Yeah, I see the 25th, and then here's the weird thing is, my drive-in in town was advertising Black Widow forever because they've been closed for the winter. Now all of a sudden they've got Tom and Jerry and Godzilla vs. Kong coming, but it's not until the April 7th. So I'm like, what did Warner Brothers do? Push it off?
Not sure. Any last minute touches to it? I mean, it's too late to change anything.
Well, no, but I was wondering if they were moving it just so they could spread it out a little more because they'd have because remember we said that originally. We're like, bam, they've got, Justice League and then Kong within a week of each other. Basically.
Right.
Yahoo News says the UK video on demand release is April 1st.
Oh. I'm curious because I'm just wondering if they'll end up announcing it this week that they're pushing it back a week or something. That'd be interesting. And I could have got a scoop because of my stupid driving in town. Just put it on their thing. Because they've had Black Widow set for May 7th for the whole winter. And now they just changed it this week. I was like, huh, interesting.
They changed it again. Did they move it up?
No. I mean, they just had it on the marquee.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if it's just because they're not planning on opening till a week later or if they're pushing back Godzilla vs. Kong a week. Which is funny because they're showing both Warner films, which is Tom and Jerry, which has been out for a while. And then the second feature is Godzilla vs. Kong.
Yeah, Digital Spy says Godzilla vs. Kong in the U.S. and HBO Max theaters March 31st.
Now they changed it to March 31st. Huh? Because I looked earlier and I thought it was March 31st.
Right. On the most recent Godzilla vs. Kong tweet from today that came out about an hour ago, it says March 31st.
All right. So they moved it to that weekend. All right. Because it was supposed to be the 25th, I think, originally. Or something like that. The 23rd or 25th or something. Anyway.
Tom, and as far as the Snyder Cut, did they break that up into different episodes?
Not that I know of. As far as I know, they put it all together.
Okay.
Which is
weird. 4 hours long then.
Yeah. Because originally the plan was to split it up and made sense. And they drop an episode every week. But now I guess they're just putting it all together. I have no idea what happened, but
it's probably just because of contract renegotiations. If it's a movie, the contracts are solid. If it's a TV, they got to renegotiate, and I don't think anyone wants to do that.
Gotcha. Well, that makes sense.
That's what I was figuring. Nikki D sends in another $2. Says, "Will the box office ever return to normal?" On that note, as we're just talking, I hope soon it will, maybe, sort of, kind of, and not just for the Hollywood sake of things, but just for people's sake.
Yeah.
for our mental sake.
Honestly, I think it will, Tom. I mean,
Yeah.
as soon as the restrictions are beginning to lighten up, people are starting to get back to work, like myself, and so you're going to want to go out when you start making money again. You're going to go out and do those things that you were doing, and I think the box office will bounce back.
Well, and Tom and Jerry did like close to, I think, $10 million. That's opening weekend, so that's not bad.
No, it's not bad.
And considering there's nothing else really out, I mean, that's part of what, builds up the box office is you have, 12 movies out at a time that are, first run movies. But no, I don't think it'll take too long. And especially now that they got another bailout. I think pretty much everything's going to be bailed out. It'd be interesting to see. Anybody else got a take on that?
Ryan the Last Dragon, 5.5 million this weekend, domestic.
Ooh, that's not great. But that's also...
It's still number one for the weekend, though.
Yeah.
I mean, my thinking is that the big blockbuster tentpole movies are probably going to take longer to come back because it's an opportunity, because you've got a chance for the studios to make smaller budget pictures in order to reduce their margins, because you can make more if you have a successful box office run on a lower budget film, then your profit is better. And you can use that for other things. And with all of the distribution going into digital and streaming and whatnot, your theatrical window is going to be short anyway. I think, unless they just decide to roll the dice on some really big thing, but I don't think you're going to get the audience to come back for the really big things yet.
Well, that's the other thing, though, is I think we haven't really got a good look at what the box office can do, because everything that's been released has been in tandem with its digital release.
Yeah.
And I just think that the Disney movie that just came out just didn't have the demand, and they didn't really do a very good job of advertising it. And it is also available in the $30 premium, but I think a lot of people just know it's going to be available cheaper soon, and they're just going to wait.
It'll probably be on Disney Plus in 30 days for everybody.
I think it's like, either 30 days or 90 days or something like that. Christian Correleo says, in other news, Avatar reclaimed the global box office with $2.81 billion. Also, is Resident Alien on any streaming service, or is it just on Sci-Fi?
It's on Sci-Fi. You can see it on Hulu Plus. You could see it.
Is it on Hulu? I got Hulu.
On Hulu Plus.
Well, yeah, I got the Hulu I pay for. Yeah.
And you can see it on Fubo TV, Sling TV, on demand.
You don't have it on the Peacock yet?
No, but you should probably send at Peacock to get it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Doesn't it stream on Sci-Fi's website?
Maybe.
Like the day after, like CW does?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah, because I seen that they had the first episode on YouTube as well, though. But if it's on Hulu, then I can just watch it on my TV. Yeah. Awesome. So there you go.
Sling TV Blue, Fubo TV, Sling TV Blue, and Hulu Plus.
All right. And Nelson Charette is curious, Rob. He loves Alan Tudyk. Is he in anything right now?
Well, funny you should mention that. He's in Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
Lordy.
I'm sensing a theme here.
A theme. Rob needs to get paid by Sci-Fi is when. Holy cow, we got Echo Bass in the chat too. Everybody's here right now.
All the cool kids are in the chat.
Yeah.
And you know what else the cool kids love to do?
What's that?
They love to watch Resident Alien Wednesdays at Sci-Fi.
I was waiting for that. Oh Lord. And then we got one from Ronnie. Sorry if I'm butchering that. Harushin. Hail Midnight's Edge Cruise. Shame to see two great figures getting targeted by woke wackos. Speaking of being targeted by woke wackos, we have Robert Meyer Burnett eating Fritos.
The Frito Bandito himself.
I want that shirt, man. Who is it? Who's it? I see it's an exorcist making fun of, but who's on it?
It's Robert Smith.
I can't. It's so far away. Here,
it's Robert Smith from The Cure. It's The Boys Don't Cry.
Oh, okay, I see it now. All right. Okay.
When I was in college, I had this poster, a giant poster of this on my wall of him. It was him on stage. When I saw this shirt, I'm like, "That's the greatest shirt I've ever seen." Yeah, I have to get that. I have to get this doing? Okay, first of all, can I guess I'm late to the party, but I was reading this this I don't even know what you're talking about. You just sent me the link. I have no idea what the subject is, but
it's MEAD weekend. We just talking about whatever.
What the hell is this? You guys are the gateway to alt-right.
Yep.
I was reading this and I'm like, what the fuck is this?
We call it the Crimson Arches.
I'm like, this is this most in, and then I got kind of annoyed that I wasn't on it too. But I'm just like, what is this? This is the most absurd shit I've ever read.
It's a setup. If you go and you actually investigate it, it's a podcast and a website that have only been around for the last 2 months, and the only thing they've really done is this article and podcast. That's the only thing they've done. And at first we were trying to ignore it, but then Jeremy and Ryan are like, well, we got to get ahead of it anyway. And Jeremy of Geeks and Gamers. And so they did an article, they did a few videos about it, and we talked about it last week. And then we were like, okay, fine and done. We're done with it. Well, then Ryan noticed this weekend, the one who's, the main subject of the whole thing, noticed this weekend that a bunch of people from Lucasfilm were tweeting it out.
Ooh.
So we had already kind of our suspicions about where it came from or who was behind it all, but now we're like almost certain. And they're just using Ryan as like I don't know if scapegoat's the right word, but
Catalyst.
Yeah. Even though it's like, motherfucker's like probably more radicalized than I am.
Go ahead, Rob.
I was just curious what beer Mr. Burnett is drinking.
This would be a Voodoo Ranger.
Okay.
Voodoo Ranger Imperial IPA, and it's 9% alcohol. It's tasty. I believe it's from Seattle.
Okay, cool.
I like my IPAs, but when I was reading this, I was kind of shocked by the whole thing. I mean, the parallel that the line that they were trying to draw, and I'm like, look, you guys we're talking about movies and entertainment at the end of the day, and the baseline is we want it to be good. Like, and I was thinking to myself, the way I bang on about Star Trek, the way I cannot stand Star Trek. I really hate what's been done to Star Trek over the last 13 years.
Yeah.
There is no line that you could draw between me and being alt-right and my hatred of modern Star Trek.
Well,
but they will figure out a way to do it. And I was looking at this and I could see how it could be done, because clearly if you don't like modern Star Trek, you don't like the idea of the people that are in the modern Star Trek shows. Like that's what they'll hang that on you, or that you're going to be sexist or something. Because look, and what's so interesting is we don't dislike things because that there's a female protagonist, or there's a person of color. That's not why we hate things. We hate things because they're bad, because they're not well written. And we grew up in a time where all of these things were classic. Like, The Empire Strikes Back plus Star Wars. It took what Star Wars was, right, the original Star Wars, as a cultural phenomenon, and added to it. It gave it depth. It gave the characters a lot more meaning to one another and to us as the audience. And if you look at the genre entertainment, the summer of '82, between May and July, you had Conan, Star Trek II, Poltergeist, Tron, The Road Warrior, The Thing, John Carpenter's Thing, Blade Runner,
not to mention E.T.
E.T. I mean, all of these within a 2-month period of time, and you had all these different creators working at different levels, and they were creating great entertainment. And look at the great entertainment we've had over the last 40 years since Empire came out in 1980. There's been a lot of classic stuff. Even when I went and saw the first Matrix in 1999, people laughed at it because it was some cyber thriller that Keanu Reeves was in, and he'd been in Johnny Mnemonic before that. That was really not good.
I keep reminding people that he's had like 2 or 3 comebacks already.
Yeah, all I knew is that the Wachowskis, who had like written Assassins and they'd made Bound, had made this movie, and I'm like, okay. I didn't know anything about it. I went and saw it on the Warner Brothers lot for a screening, and it blew my when he, the red pill the blue pill, red pill scene, people are like, oh, I get what you're saying, being red pilled. I'm like, no. The original. When I was watching, you're watching Morpheus go, you have a choice. And when he woke up and he's in the human battery thing, the compartment, you realize that every human being that's alive, those great shots of the electricity coming up.
Yeah.
It was so mind blowing because I didn't know that was where it was going at all. I had no clue. I was sitting there in the theater going, oh my God, I couldn't believe it. And it instant classic.
Yeah.
And that's what we were getting from our entertainment. And now that's all anybody wants is to see these things and have them be good. And so the idea that if you're complaining about something that isn't, we have good Star Wars. We can point to it and go, it's right over there.
Yeah, there's two of them.
And it's just
sorry.
It's frustrating. It's
Rob knows what I mean
when it's bad.
Robert, there's two good movies. Yeah.
Well, yeah, there's Star Wars and Empire to me, but
yeah, I know I'm with you on that boat. But
yeah,
I mean, I love Jedi. Don't get me wrong, but I know it's like, to me, Jedi's like Godfather 3.
Yeah, that's a very apt description. Like, I enjoy Godfather 3, but it's not Godfather 1 or 2.
Nearly as good. Yeah. And Roger Haynes sent us a super sticker. Thank you so much. And then Fezman says it's 2080 and No Time to Die has still not been released. Well, it's coming. And not only is it coming, you're going to get it 45 days after it drops in theaters on Paramount Plus. I don't know if you had heard about that or not, Robert, but that's what ended up coming of all the negotiations that were going on behind the scenes.
Wait a minute. No Time to Die is going to be on Paramount Plus?
Yep. This was actually...
Has that been announced?
Yeah, it was buried in their big announcement. And I was telling everybody, I'm like, look, this is what I told y'all. They were going to drop it on a streaming service. Paramount came in and bought up MGM's streaming library, and they're getting all their new movies that are coming out for like the next year. Wow. So they're getting Top Gun 2. They're getting... Oh, Top Gun 2 is already there. Sorry. They're getting Creed 3. Whatever other big movies that MGM has coming out, including No Time to Die, 45 days after it drops in theaters.
You see,
wow.
Michael B. Jordan's going to direct that Creed.
Yep, and Michael B. Jordan is directing Creed 3.
The thing is, though, with No Time to Die, theatrically, I mean, they could stand. It's interesting. 45 days is a small window. I would think they'd want one that was at least 60. That's why they've waited to get that $1 billion.
They must have got a good deal out of Paramount, because I know that was what was happening before. Is HBO was haggling them. Apple had walked away.
Yeah.
HBO Max was only going to offer, I think, like 300. Or
that means they're getting all the rest of the Bond films then.
Possibly. That's what I think the whole plan is, because they're going to be carrying all the MGM. I don't think they bought MGM or anything like that. I think they're just getting the exclusive streaming, or not. They're probably not even exclusive, but streaming rights to the MGM library, which, of course, notation and asterisks, everybody who knows anything prior to I think 1970 that isn't a Bond film, MGM doesn't own the distribution rights to anymore.
Right.
Because Turner bought them all out. So yeah. And then Joe Pat points out that Tom and Jerry is still doing better than Raya, which is funny considering, but I can tell you, it's free on HBO Max, but it's still doing better in theaters. Isn't that bizarre? It is. I don't know.
People want to go to the theaters where they can, and they want to get out. They want to do something. We've all been confined for so long.
But you would think Raya would be doing better in theaters, considering it costs $30 on Disney Plus.
I think people just don't care enough to watch it.
That could be another thing. Like I said, and it's getting good reviews, but again, I don't think they did anything to really market it. Spider Unlimited says, "Is Shane coming tonight?" No, I haven't heard from Shane. Not in a long time. I think Shane just
damn it, Shane.
He's too busy assuming that, or inserting the fact that we're all racist according to them.
Yeah.
Even though these are the people who decide that a black woman can't do any better but get how many thousands of people killed, and that she can't do any better than assault her, shit like that. Do you really think that little of a woman of color that you're defending and calling us racist for not holding a Starfleet officer to the same standard as every other Starfleet officer before them? Do you really think that black is a disability?
Mecca, they don't hold their creativity to the same standard.
Did you see that tweet I sent out just a little while ago? Anybody else besides me, Mecca? I said, okay, let's just say for purposes of discussion, and that's how desperate they're getting right there.
Yeah,
I saw this earlier, and before Mecca had sent it to me. But,
let's just say we all went away. Let's just say we all just left YouTube, we left Twitter, like Geeks and Gamers, Gary Nerdrotic, Doomcock, Robert Burnett, Midnight's Edge, Mecca Random. Let's we all just vanished and we just went silent. We're deep live. You'd still be stuck with Star Wars whose idea created by people whose idea of a good character is a fucking rock. Really, you're gonna sit there with a straight face and say good enough. Seriously.
Hey,
I don't know.
people
I've always
talking
thought
about it, so it's achieved one thing.
But there's a difference. There's a difference between the Horda, which is a sentient silicon-based life form, and a rock.
Yeah, I have always thought that rocks could be swashbuckling.
Absolutely.
Why not?
oh Lord, stunning and brave.
Is a rock would that be minerally challenged in terms of being able to function minerally challenged?
Don't be a geophobe.
Let's be real. We all are going to find out that this rock is like really strong with the Force. And I think it was Lorraine or somebody else on Toxic Femininity last week who said, what's going to happen is nobody's ever been able to really talk to this rock. And then the whole point is they bring these Jedi in and they're taking them across the galaxy or whatever. And then the Jedi are going to be like, oh yeah, he can talk and he can do all this, that he's talking to us right now. Then they'll find out all these things about him.
But it's a rock.
It's a fucking rock. And it would be, but no, I think it was Anna who said that this is clearly what's her face is a Star Trek fan, and she's doing it as a jab to Star Trek fans. Because again, and that's what I pointed out. I remember when I first heard it. It sounds like somebody who watched a couple episodes of Star Trek but didn't really get it.
Yeah.
Because how every episode, it's always like something's trying to kill them, some inanimate object, some light, some whatever, and then Kirk's just like always, or Spock figures out, that it's not really trying to kill us, it's just trying to communicate, or something like that. That's always the catch, right? And that's obviously what they're trying to do with this is like, oh, we're just seeing it as a rock, and it's going to be so much more than that. But it's like,
but it's still been done. It's still really
it's already been done. Exactly.
Well, I think it's interesting that all the modern iterations of all of these Star Trek, Star Wars, they're stealing ideas from everybody else. Nobody's doing anything original because the end of Picard. How much of that was from how many other video games and other stories and whatnot, and then
Mass
you have
Effect and all that stuff. Yeah.
Star Wars that's basically stealing from itself.
Yeah.
But also stealing from other science fiction franchises.
Let's not
I
forget
wish Star Wars
Beans.
I wish that Star Wars would start stealing from itself.
Well, also, what's interesting too is that I have a lot of Star Trek novels, and one of the offspring of the Horda, Ensign Narat, became a crew member on the Enterprise.
Very eager.
Very eager Ensign Narat, and it's like they've done that. And it's really like I think Diane Duane brought that character in, it's so strange when I read these things. It's already out there,
but they don't have 500-page novels or comic books, Robert.
Yeah.
Although that was a really good book. Was it Romulan Way? I think.
Well, I love Dawn. As a matter of fact, I have an interview with her that I haven't put up in a while, and I did an interview. She lives in Ireland, and I did a great interview with Diane Duane. I love The Wounded Sky. I love the Romulan Way, her Hans books, and
There's
wrote
another female writer. There you go.
If the Star Trek movies had used the Rahansu stuff instead of what they did in Nemesis, I think we would have had more Next Generation movies after that.
Yeah, I mean, it's so incredibly one of the incredibly frustrating things about being a Star Trek fan is there is so many great Star Trek stories in the novels, and it boggles my mind why they have not gone in because they don't know. The people that are making like Bob Orsi did when he was working on Star Trek 09, he would talk about in interviews certain novels that he'd want to adapt. But I mean, like, there's 25 Star Trek novels I would pull off my shelves right now and be like, put this into development.
Right.
You know, even Peter David did his own Star Trek series. You know, he created a new the New Frontiers series that's really good. You know, and created this character Mackenzie Calhoun who's a great Star Trek character, and it's all there.
And
they own it.
And he looks like the guy who played Joe Flanagan from Stargate Atlantis, who played Shepard.
Yeah.
Physically, It looks like that. But the irony of that is that those books came out after, because John, I had asked about this. This is when the Sulu books, the Captain's Daughter and I think one other one, but the Captain's Daughter was the first one. And I had written to John Ordover because he was editing them at the time, and I said, "Why don't we get it? When are we getting more Sulu books?" He said, "Well, that one didn't sell very well, so we're not doing anymore." And I thought, what a missed opportunity that was. And then New Frontier comes out, and I was like, "Oh, great! They're doing other ships. Yeah. Maybe we'll get a Sulu series." And we didn't.
Speaking of other character series, Robert, did you happen to notice that some of the reporting that you and I kind of, what would you say, coordinated on and kind of figured out behind the scenes is coming to fruition, or at least being confirmed a little bit more and more day by day?
You have to bring me up to speed.
Okay, well, first of all, Strange New Worlds, as we both kind of figured out, was Akiva Goldsman's baby.
Yes.
They're reporting now that that's not going to have such a huge virtue signaling slant as we kind of predicted it probably wouldn't. And also, there's been a lot of... There'll still be some, but it's,
I don't know. Their casting's pretty virtuous.
Yeah, I was gonna say there's gonna be some, but it's not gonna be as heavy-handed as
they lie. How many times have they lied before, though? Every time, it's gonna be hopeful and optimistic. So, like, I don't believe a bit of it.
Again, I understand. Like, I'm like you. I will believe it more when I see it, but it doesn't mean that they're not reporting it. And at the same time, now we're hearing more and more and more and more rumblings about the Khan miniseries.
That I find very interesting.
Yeah, I'm wondering about that one.
But I can't. Look.
I know you got in trouble for talking about it before, so
we're just Nicholas Meyer himself contacted me.
Really?
I'll just flat out say it. It was Nicholas Meyer.
Okay, well now I can say that in anything we have been talking about. But
yeah, I mean, he contacted me and was not happy that I reported on those scripts, which I thought were great. You know, and I understand. Look, I get it, but I don't understand why Nicholas Meyer was not treated well by the powers that be over on Discovery. I mean, he wrote the second episode of Discovery. Do you see his name on the scripts now? Nope. You know, and it's frustrating. And I understand, like what Nicholas Meyer said to me. He said, "Look, I really appreciate that you like my scripts, but I would much prefer it if the audience would be able to discover the storyline for themselves." And that was fair. Yeah. But the only reason I absolutely fair. But I thought that was dead.
Yeah,
I thought that series was dead and wasn't going to happen. It's just the same way that Eric Jedrinson's Star Trek: The Beginning was not going to happen. And when we had him on the Inglorious Trexperts and talked about the script, we did so because it wasn't getting made. If it was getting made, I wouldn't go on and talk about something that was and spoil the shit out of it when it was getting made. That's why I thought it was silly when Warner Brothers was mad at me for reporting on the Dune script.
Right.
I'm like, this is not a state secret. It's been adapted twice. And you're adapting it a third time, and I'm basically reporting on how close it goes to the original source material. So good on you guys.
Wait, but Dune has source material?
Right.
Yeah, I know, right?
They don't have 500-page novels or video games or books to go.
I picture there being a meeting saying, "Guys, I don't know if you noticed, but the script for Dune is leaked." Really? Yeah, there's these places called bookstores, and apparently this was a book.
Okay, well, anyway, what was funny is all these kind of things were happening at the same time, and Robert and I were talking behind the scenes, and up to this point, we haven't said who said it, but now you know, Nicholas Meyer himself contacted Robert. So that kind of confirmed that this shit was still happening, and we had also come across something called Khan. I think Script, you brought that to my attention, right?
A little bit. Yeah, we
That
saw
or I
King of
told
Kong
that
at
or
the
I
same
had to
time.
check into it. One of the two. I can't remember.
That was
At
the
the same
John
time,
Hughes.
also, Robert Meyer Burnett brought it out.
Yeah, Robert, you brought it to me, and I took it to Script to try and check into it. That's right.
That was the John Hughes conscript.
I
The one that
believe
was.
there was something that was put up into production, and then it like disappeared.
Oh yeah, yeah.
And so like it all kind of seemed like the timing was odd, and then that kind of correlated with something that we had heard from multiple sources independently, and that was that there was a blow up behind the scenes. Kurtzman left his office and was gone for a few days, and then something got worked out behind the scenes, and he came back. And again, just deducing everything, kind of assume it was that Goldsman came in, did this whole thing with Strange New Worlds under his nose without him knowing about it. That pissed him off, and Kurtzman knows that his contract is coming up, and we've also been hearing this whole thing. Well, nothing is getting started until these shows are done. Which, come on, that's basically industry talk for when the contracts are up, we're done, right? Section 31's not fucking happening, or if it is happening, it's not happening under Kurtzman's watch. Let's be real. And this con series probably has nothing to do with Kurtzman now. And that's kind of what we were told. And I don't know how much you want to get into more of that, Robert, or Script. But yeah, and welcome, Paulie, to the proceedings. How you doing?
Paulie, can you hear us?
I'm well, thank you.
Hello,
We're one square short of a Brady Bunch.
Yeah.
Or Hollywood Squares.
No, I mean, I think that, look, I hope Nicholas Myers, I love those 3 conscripts. I thought they were great because there has been other iterations of that story. Like what happened to Khan after he was marooned on SETI Alpha 5.
Yeah,
There
Greg
have been
Cox has some great books with that.
Yeah, the Greg Cox books, To Serve in, what is it, Serve in Hell or what? I can't see.
No, I haven't read them. You have. But I was told by somebody was that they kind of take everything back to the original timeline. Is that true?
Well, what's interesting about those 3 books is they talk about the eugenics wars. There's something that I've never liked
I
about
meant the scripts, but yeah.
Well, the conscripts that Nicholas Meyer wrote don't. I mean, they're totally all new stories that you get to see Khan flee Earth, and then what happens when they arrive on SETI Alpha 5, and it was really interesting. I thought the scripts were really good, and the biggest conceit is that, and it never occurred to me, which I thought was great, is that SETI Alpha 6 was an inhabited planet with a very sophisticated, very intelligent indigenous population that becomes part of the story. Right. And I'm like, that was really cool. And they did something he does something really unique in the story. And I thought it was great. I mean, I was like, I would love to see this done as a 3-part miniseries because it was written as 3 scripts. And now Nicholas Myers saying, "Oh, it was too little. They didn't have enough." And I'm like,
"Yeah, that's what the newest thing he's saying is."
Yeah,
but no, what I was told was that it actually takes place in the original timeline, though, not the Kelvin timeline. Not
no, it does.
Yeah, that's what I meant.
Oh yeah, no, it absolutely takes place in the original timeline. But doesn't Discovery and Strange New Worlds too?
Yeah, to that. No, like the person that was telling me this stuff though was like adamant about that. Like this is taking it back to the original time, like almost like this, like the reason why this is like being real hush hush now is this is kind of being, and this is just going off of what I was told. Again, you can't take this all with a grain of salt.
Tell anybody.
No. I'm just saying take this with a grain of salt. If somebody can back this up, great. But basically, I was told that they're sitting on this until the contracts are up, and this is going to be the new big thing that's going to reintroduce Star Trek. They're going to take like a short hiatus after all these shows are done, and then this will become, and it'll be their big kind of like, con miniseries and all that kind of stuff is what I heard. It may be getting expanded upon, though, is what I also heard.
How does that track with the new movie?
That movie's not fucking happening. And if it is, it's just...
What's her name? Kalinda Vasquez?
Yeah.
That's just a pitch. And that's what everybody's missing in that thing. And I'm sure you've covered this, Jason. But like, yeah, all that was a pitch. And this happens all the time. When somebody does a pitch like this, somebody from somebody's camp will leak it to the press just to see the reaction and or just to get it moving along faster. A great example is Mr. H discovered the same kind of thing they were doing with that Hellraiser series. It was not nearly as far along as the guy was trying to boast about it in the press. And it was just so he could try to get the deal to move along faster.
Yeah.
So these kind of things happen all the time.
Yeah.
I don't see it happening, or what it is just it's that de facto 5th season is going to end up being like a mini series or a movie instead of it being a whole season, probably.
Yeah, I mean, but the con thing, I think it was pretty epic. I mean, and they could easily make it 6 episodes rather than 3 if they wanted to. You know, it could be like,
Yeah,
you could look at it like a Queen's Gambit miniseries, make it 6 episodes or something. I just thought it was really cool. You know, it was a great story, and it was a great science fiction story, and it was a great Star Trek story.
yeah. Because the other thing about that Trek movie announcement is it goes against everything Emma Watts said. She said they're not doing any new movies. She said there's a ceiling on these and they don't work. Trek is basically a television property. So I don't see them spending any money on some big screen version of Trek right now.
Well,
Not in this generation.
no, I mean, they need to figure out what they used to know, which is you make Star Trek movies for a price.
Right.
I think they should go back and do the Jedrinson Star Trek: The Beginning script. I thought that was great. You've got a whole new cast of characters. It takes place after Enterprise. It's canonical. It deals with the Romulan War, and I thought it was really good. I really liked it, and it's got a really interesting central conceit. And the Romulans are the antagonists, and it's done in a really, really interesting way. And it like Nicholas Meyer, when Eric Jedrinson, he knew nothing about Star Trek. He didn't particularly want to do it. He turned them down. So for people who don't know, after Enterprise went off the air, that summer, the summer of 2005, they contacted Eric Jedrinson, who was the producer of Band of Brothers, the supervising producer, and they asked him to come do something with Star Trek. And he came in. He was unfamiliar with Star Trek, didn't want to do science fiction, and he watched a lot of Star Trek, completely immersed himself in all the shows, the original series all the way up through Enterprise. And he wanted to write something that had canonical fealty to the whole series, and then took the series. So it takes place about 8 years after the end of Enterprise. And it deals with the outbreak of the Romulan War. And it's really good. I thought it was really good. And it was going to be the first movie in a trilogy. And then the regime at Paramount changed. And then the project was dead. So there was only one draft ever written of the script. And I thought it was pretty good. I mean, it's not perfect. It certainly it needed to be rewritten. But the idea was good. And I thought the characters are really interesting.
Oh, yeah. Like, it was a solid first draft.
Yeah, it really was. It was a solid first draft. And the whole idea that the Romulans were actively going after the Vulcans, especially planets that were they were getting rid of the Vulcan influence throughout the galaxy. So they were trying to get rid of any planets that were harboring Vulcans. They're like, you give up your Vulcans or we're going to destroy your planet. And Earth was like, F you. No. And so suddenly the Earth became a safe harbor, and they were going to stand up against Romulan aggression. And the idea of ethnic cleansing and all that was part of they didn't come right out and say it, but it was really an interesting part of the script. I mean, and even the opening, which began at sea. Imagine a futuristic catamaran boat race through San Francisco Harbor with all of these about to graduate cadets. Would have been a great way to open a Star Trek script, out on the high seas in the middle of a regatta, a big, fast boat race, literally on the sea. I'm like, I would love to have seen that as an opening of a Star Trek movie, meeting all of our characters as they're competing against one another. I think that would have been really beautiful and interesting, and it could have been done really, really well.
Another thing that too is it ties it back to present day, learning basic seamanship.
Yep.
Like, oh, these people aren't that different than we are.
Right. Exactly.
Right.
And what was interesting about that script was it was a cast of exciting young people, and you get like the Admiral. There's an Admiral character. You cast Tom Hanks, as the Admiral. He would love it. I mean, you could see that the whole, and there's really interesting Vulcan characters. The relationships were really interesting, and of course they're dealing with the introduction of another higher, faster warp speeds. They have a test bed ship. It was great. I loved it. I thought it was great. And they could have really, and as he said as the Jedrinson said, he goes, this first script was going to be the Odyssey, the next script was going to be the Iliad, and then the third script he hadn't figured out yet. So
interesting.
It could have been good.
All right.
Rex.
But the problem is, again, Paramount has nobody. No, you did anybody watch Assembled, the making of WandaVision show that dropped on Disney Plus?
No, I didn't, because I dropped Disney Plus.
We watched it today.
It was really good. I mean, what'd you think of it?
I thought it was interesting.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it?
One thing that I didn't really hear in that episode that I'm seeing bandied about online a lot was what's her name? Jack
Schaefer.
Schaefer. Something about her not knowing who Mephisto was and not being familiar with any of the Marvel stuff. I didn't catch that in the Assembled episode. That must have been in interviews. But it really felt like they were in earnest, taking their time and being careful with the craft, especially reenacting the style and the motifs of all of the different sitcoms they did. It didn't seem like there was any kind of agenda yet in infiltrating into the Marvel production.
No, not at all. Yet. I mean, I was blown away that they shot those sitcom episodes in front of a live studio audience.
Yeah.
I was like, that's insane.
Well, those were the highlights of the show. I checked out later on because I dropped Disney Plus, but from what I heard, they really nerfed the landing, especially after promising a lot.
Yeah.
I mean,
big old face plant.
Yeah. There was some of that was fan expectations that were never anything that the Marvel people had promised or promoted or anything like that. But the ending, it sets Wanda up as the villain.
Well, no, that's the problem, Jason, is you had not just you had both stars come out and promise this, Luke Skywalker level cameo that didn't happen, and that's what most people are upset about.
But I think I think what's I found. Look, did I find the end? I love the show up through the 8th episode. Did I find it wholly satisfying? No, but I do think, as far as innovative television, if you watch what I took away from when they were making WandaVision, they knew what they were making, and they were making this specific thing that all the people, the craft of what was going on in there, and I think that you're asking. Here's the disconnect. What comes out when WandaVision was being promoted initially, it was right after, close to when The Mandalorian ended. So just on everybody's mind, they're like, well, what can we expect from the end of the climax? The people don't understand. Like you have to understand, the people that make shows are not fans. So they're not looking at the things the way we are, that we immerse ourselves in the Marvel lore and all of that.
Right.
They just don't know. So, like, look, I can tell you from experience, if you were to go ask William Shatner about Star Trek episodes, or when I interviewed Patrick Stewart, I said, listen, I don't want to talk to you about Star Trek. And he was like, well, what do you mean? I go, what do you know about Star Trek? And he really doesn't. Patrick Stewart knows his part. Right. But if I were to ask him, I mean, can you tell me about the Battle of Narendra 3 from yesterday's Enterprise? He'd be like, what?
Yeah, we've asked him.
Well, but there's
being so in control of this new Picard series. Like, they should never have listened to him. I mean, I get it. He's an actor. He's an established artiste. He deserves respect for that. But he's not somebody who should be creating a Star Trek show.
No.
But I'm sorry, Robert. Go ahead.
No. Well, I was just going to say that, the actors are thinking about, for Patrick Stewart, he's in a movie like Logan. And he's a classically trained, obviously, Shakespearean actor. He looks at Logan and he thinks, what an interesting journey they took Charles Xavier on in Logan. And in his mind, from a storytelling standpoint, it's like, okay, a man in decline, a once proud man who was in control of his faculties, who was very powerful, who's now at this point in his life, he's suffering from mutant Alzheimer's, essentially. That's easily understood by everyone. Now, and when you see Logan, it was done really, really well, and he had a great time doing it, and his performance was impeccable, and I really like Logan. I think it was really well received.
Yeah.
So in his mind, he's like, if we applied that to Star Trek, we could do the same kind of thing. Well, now Patrick Stewart is not incorrect in that assumption. The problem is, we as longtime viewers of Star Trek, we're like, it's not the same. You know, the character of Jean-Luc Picard is not the same as Xavier. So the idea that a character like Jean-Luc Picard would suffer from like Bendy syndrome, what Sarek suffered from, it's not going to be, it doesn't work that way. But in his mind, and when he's pitching to the TV, to the showrunners, that's like, well, that sounds really good. You know, we'll put Picard in this, even though that makes it look, disease fine. But to put Picard on his vineyard writing books, living the way he was living at the beginning of Picard, makes utterly no sense. The way the character has been portrayed since 1987 makes no sense at all. So I get where Patrick Stewart was coming from. He's like, I came off Logan, I had a really successful experience with this, but from a fan perspective, because they're not thinking like fans, because they're not steeped in it. One of the problems I think with modern Star Trek is they really aren't. And the one fan they really have on the show, you know, Kirsten Beyer, she is negated because she's not a TV writer. You know, she came on board and they brought her on, and she's like the resident fan, she's a novelist and has written great Voyager novels, but the people on that work on that TV show would poo-poo that because she's just written tie-in fiction. And I'm like, when the other novelist you had on the show, Walter Mosley, he's not around anymore either, is he?
Right.
You know, it's a weird thing about how it works.
The funny thing is, I've been reading Mark Cushman's books. These are the Voyages, and he's going through, and he's had access to all of the Roddenberry archives, all the production memos, all the stuff from the studios. He paid for an account at Nielsen and got all the Nielsen ratings data for the original series. And it's been really interesting to read these books about the history of Star Trek. And he's taking great pains in all of the different eras. So the animated era, the development of Phase 2, and moving into this.
I don't have the book on the 70s. I got to get that.
There's 3 of them.
Yeah.
And they're fascinating to read, to coin a phrase. And it's one of those things that convinces me that Paramount has never understood Star Trek. We talk about, they don't get it now, but going all the way back to the beginning of the show, they never got it. They never understood what they had their hands on. And that's clear from all of the different things that you see going on behind the scenes in all of the back and forth just to develop Phase 2 was stupid ridiculous because nobody could figure out what they wanted to do. Is it going to be a series? Well, we can't do another series because that'll cut into our profits from the syndication. Well, maybe we do a TV movie. And if the TV movie does well, it does maybe a series. And no, we're making a feature film. And no, it's back to the series now. No, it's a series of TV movies. They never figured it out.
Yeah, it wasn't until Star Wars kind of solidified it as a movie. It was like, we got to do that.
Yeah. Well, Jason, I think you bring up a really good point, and I was banging on about this on my show today, that there is a huge disconnect, and I think in our own community, in the YouTube pundit community, watching a show or watching a movie and understanding and being a fan is a very different thing than making that very same movie.
Yeah.
And that that's why I said use the example about Patrick Stewart. Brent Spiner told us he never even watched Next Generation ever. And he said to me, and when I was interviewing him for the Blu-rays, I believe him. He said, "Look, why would I watch the show? I did it."
Right.
He said the only time he watched Next Generation is when he went and saw the 4 feature films because he was contractually obligated to do so. Because so if you were to ask Brent Spiner about an episode, like from a viewing standpoint, like when we're not from a making standpoint, but from like we're following along the mythology, like all of my reference books from Star Trek. I'm like, if I were to say, do you know that there were whales on board the Enterprise D, that they worked in celestial navigation? The actors would look at me and go, what are you talking about? And I'm like, well, according to the blueprints that were done by Rick Sternbach and Mike Akuda, there is a cetacean navigation section on the Enterprise, which, hey, makes sense, I guess. You know, and by the way, I would never say that to anybody who actually worked on Star Trek, because I know they would look at me like I was out of my fucking mind. But from a fan perspective, we have to understand, like, it was very interesting to watch WandaVision and what happened, because we think from and being steeped in Marvel lore, that the things they said, like, who is the astrophysicist? Like, if somebody from their minds are like, yeah, I got to go meet with my astrophysicist friend. We suddenly, it turns it into a thing. Like, when they're making the show, they're not thinking
Reed Richards.
Yeah, I thought it would be for sure. Why not introduce? Because one, we've been set up to believe that. You know, we've been set up to think that way. They've conditioned us to think that way. But the people making WandaVision weren't even thinking that far ahead. They weren't even thinking that deep. I mean, if you think about it, they introduced Monica Rambeau as an adult. They introduced Skrulls. They introduced Sword. They introduced a million different things. So they're thinking, look at how much lore we're putting into this show.
Yeah.
And we're like not even paying attention to what's in front of us. We're paying attention to what is not there and making up all this other stuff. Like, there's still things I don't understand. They didn't explain very well. But
it's that interconnectivity of the Marvel universe that has us expecting meaning behind the throwaway lines.
Yep.
What do they mean by that? Why is it red? You know, it's those kind of things where, you know, people start making all of these assumptions, whether they're there or not. And I think that's one of the things, going back to the Luke Skywalker moment. Yeah, Elizabeth Olsen kind of played that up. And you're right about the timing coming off of The Mandalorian.
that was just in the zeitgeist. And she probably said that the same way that, can you imagine Paul Bettany on that interview? He goes, when he even says it, he says, I watched an interview where he goes, well, I was making a joke. I'm like, wait, do you see what's going to happen? I'm going to work. Yeah.
Well, even without that, though, the show was just kind of boring. It took forever to get where it was going. I watched up to about the 80s, and I'm like, okay, we get it. We get it. They're in a sitcom thing. We get it. Can you do this a little faster? I don't need to be spoon-fed. And, stop everything and see it all over again for another half hour. As somebody with zero expectations, with zero, I'm not going to get any reference. I'm not going to get any, I'm not going to get any, like, an astrophysicist. I don't know who the crap that is. I don't care. Just give me something that's going to entertain me for a half an hour. And I think that was the problem with this, with WandaVision, was that I think a lot of people, too many people are buying into this media narrative that fans, their expectations were let down. Well, I am a viewer, and my expectations were let down in that I was going to get something that was fun and entertaining, that was going to be wrapped up in a quick, precise little way that was going to perhaps entice me into watching more Marvel. And, that's the only expectation I had out of it. So
go ahead, Stephen.
That goes back to what Robert was saying about the people that are making these things aren't fans. They don't understand the material. And that is one of the biggest problems. You don't want to get an Uber fan in there who's going to, dress something up that no one's going to understand. But you need a nuance between people that understand the deep lore, that have a deep meaning with them, and then people that are normies that just, want to watch and consume good content. That's the biggest problem we have right now, as far as I see it, in our entertainments. Go ahead, Rob.
I'm sorry. I was about to say the problem I had was not so much the Easter eggs or anything that had to do with the fans. It's just that it relied too heavily on the TV gimmick initially, and then it fell into this disjointed, non-linear storytelling presentation. And it felt too disjointed, and you had things that were set up and they weren't paid off very well. You don't bring in Evan Peters as Quicksilver or as someone who's supposed to be her brother, and then he just turns out to be, it's just some guy.
Joe Blow, whatever.
Ralph Boner. Ralph Boner. The other thing too, in White Vision comes in. He has this great mirror match with Other Vision. And then he just says, I am Vision, and takes off. Where the fuck did he go?
Well, I mean,
The other
and
thing to remember is that this whole season of WandaVision sets up Doctor Strange 2.
you know what?
But it doesn't stand on its own, and that's its biggest flaw. It has to stand on its own.
It has to stand on its own. And
Well-
let me just get the ending of WandaVision pissed me off royally in that she held an entire town hostage for a month, caused them unspeakable pain where they begged for death, and then she lets them go. Monica Rambeau says, "Oh, we know, yeah. Oh, well, we know you tortured these poor people for a month, but hey, you're just so stunning and brave. Bye, Z's girlfriend." And she just takes off, and she wasn't even sorry in the least in the fact that she did this to these poor people. She was just sorry that she had to give up her fantasy world. Like, oh my God, look at the pain I've caused by being selfish. She's like, oh, there goes my idyllic life, and my, that what could have been. Yeah, okay, that's traumatizing. But at the same time, I'm like, you don't fucking get it. I'm like, and the one guy who tried to stop her, they arrested.
Yeah.
For no other reason that he's the evil white man.
And remember, Rob, when
fuck?
I didn't finish the show, but when we first started watching it, what did I say would really piss me off if it ended? Like, if they made her the villain and she was doing all this stuff to hurt these people. And then not only that, you're basically telling me they give her a Smallville ending by just letting her walk away. And again, I understand a lot of this is setting up for something else, but to go back to a point like Mecca was saying and a few other things that were said here earlier too, I want to address.
Well, Mark's 47. It's not the fact that who was going to detain her. She felt no remorse whatsoever.
Right.
None.
Well, my other thing I wanted to bring up though is that us as these fans of this stuff don't realize that the normies don't get into it so much, and that's where a lot of this Easter eggs and all these connective things go way over their head. A great example is I was talking to a lady once who was renting. I think it was one of the Thor movies way back when, and she didn't even realize that they were all connected, that there was the Avengers and all this other stuff. So I had to explain that to her. And so we've gotten to this point now where they've made these shows like mandatory viewing, right? So it's like, if we know we've gotten to this point where it's like, if we don't see these, then we're going to be lost in the next thing. And so it becomes like, this
becomes like what they did with comic books.
It is. And even Kathleen Kennedy has like, commented on how Kevin Feige was so smart to do this, and Amy Pascal has, and other people have. And it's smart to a point, but at the same time, then you're stuck with a situation where we have here, and that is where you have something that was built up on certain expectations. You have something that can't stand on its own, like Script said, but you also have something that people feel like they need to see, but then when they don't get any kind of reward for sitting through this, especially something this long. I mean, it's been one thing, we sat through very rewarding things in the Marvel Universe usually. And to get through 9 hours of something like this and to be that unrewarding, I can understand a fan reaction like that. The other thing I want to point into was you guys brought up the writer of the show or whatever, or the showrunner. She's also the one who is responsible for Captain Marvel, I guess, and came up with the whole cat scratch thing. So again, I think that speaks to what Robert was saying about people.
No, she's Captain Marvel 2.
But I think she also worked on Captain Marvel 1.
She's also writing Black Widow.
Oh, that's what it is. Black Widow.
Yeah, Black Widow. But I guess she's the one who came up with the whole like thing with the cat, like how that came about, I guess.
I don't know anything about Jack Schaefer. I don't know what her education is, but when you're saying, well, I don't know how to read a comic book, the way I'm like, it makes me stop and say, wait a minute. Then what are you doing directing being the showrunner on this property?
Well, and this was going to get me to my next point and final point for now anyway, Rob, and that was that, we have all these people that you guys are bringing up that are working on these shows who are not fans, who are not versed in any of this shit, which is not necessarily a bad thing, because we talked about, Robert was talking earlier about Nicholas Meyer. Nicholas Meyer didn't know shit about Star Trek when he started working on it, but what he did do was became very familiar with it, and once he realized and knew what it was, then he's like, all right, I got this. I can do it. And the thing that's great about Nicholas is he's a very intelligent person. Right. And he's worked in a lot of this kind of stuff before where, he did the Sherlock stories and he did, was it Time After Time? What is it called?
Time After Time, 7% Solution.
Yeah. So, he's done all these kind of things that are kind of like in genre entertainment already in a way. So like he understands taking characters and doing something different with them. He's already tested that ground before. What you have though is these people coming in like this Jack individual who don't get this shit, who aren't fans. And that's something we constantly hear about Star Trek is if you're a fan, the last thing you want to tell them when you go to work for them is that you're a fan, because they will not hire you because they don't want to deal with that baggage.
Well,
That's a shame. That baggage makes them money.
That baggage to them though is a pain in the ass.
You're signing on to a 55-plus-year-old property. What do you mean you don't want that baggage?
Script can probably back me up on this. And what that is they don't want to have to adhere and deal with all this crap that came before.
No, they don't want to be. They don't want to be told they don't want to be told you're wrong. That's what it comes down to.
Really? Yes.
Yeah.
Well, but I think one of the things that is often forgotten is that people that work in especially television are going from show to show to show, and sometimes they might their friends, getting staffed on a TV show is almost miraculous, and it's a thing that it's a big deal, and you never know if you're going to get staffed on Hawaii Five-0 or the X-Files or whatever. And what happens is, and I have a lot of TV writer friends, and there's, like with anything, there are people that are, I think storytelling in general, you have to have, in order to be a great storyteller, you have to have a literary background. And in order, it's not just the show that you're working on currently, because if you think about it, there are 7 stories in the world. You have to understand the classical storytelling forms, and you need to have a real understanding. And I'm talking literary understanding. But so often nowadays, the people that are working in both television and movies, they've seen television and movies. They don't have classical literary backgrounds where they've studied the great classic literature. I mean, all the way back to, look, if you're going to be a writer, and whether you believe in it or not, if you don't know your Bible, you're never going to be a great writer, because all of Western civilization is based around certain stories, certain biblical concepts. And you've got to know these kinds of stories. And I think one of the things that we saw when I was in film school was that there's a lot of people that had seen only a certain kind of movie. So the movies they were making were copies of movies that they'd seen. And there was very few original voices out there. And one of the things, like if you get involved with Nicholas Meyer and also Jedridson, who wrote the Star Trek The Beginning script, they immersed themselves into Star Trek, but they could recognize the classical storytelling forms that Star Trek availed itself of. So they really got it. The same way that the original Star Wars goes back to like Kurosawa. And again, the classical forms, whether you're watching Hidden Fortress or Seven Samurai or Rashomon, I mean, these are stories that are they're derived out of the eternal stories of human history. And you have to have a working knowledge of those stories if you're ever going to be a really great writer. If all you've ever done is watch television and movies, sure, you might know great stories, but you're not going to be not as great of a writer as you could be if you have a literary background. And I think one of the problems that we have now is it's a problem of education, is that we don't have the writers that were our classical education is woefully lacking these days. And so, a guy like Nicholas Meyer he was a very well-educated guy. So when you show him Star Trek, he goes, oh, I get it. I get where these classical storytelling tropes are from. So I know how to distill those things into their essence and put them into a new story. If you look at Star Trek II, The Wrath of Khan, a lot of it goes back to Melville and Moby Dick, and that's a timeless story, really, that we all understand. And he utilized that so well.
And the smart writers, just going to butt in real quick.
Please.
The smart writers hire dramaturgs that do have training, because I do not, but I love to write. But I get playwrights to dramaturg the shit out of my work.
Yes.
So I just wanted to add that.
No, but you're absolutely right. And I think what happens is, when you're a TV writer now, you're so happy to have the job, and it's so, especially in Star Trek, it's very tenuous. People come and go. and you're trying to hire your friends or people you trust, the people that are writing Star Trek, they're not steeped in Star Trek. They come out of Vampire Diaries or the originals or whatever the hell they were writing before. And they're just trying to write scripts, but they're not steeped in any of this stuff. And that's why I think we're getting, nor do they take the time to get steeped in it. And they don't have the literary background. They don't have the educational background where they can understand and recognize what makes these story. I mean, Star Trek is a genre unto itself, and you have to understand how it works.
Well, part of that is you're not steeped in because and I hate saying this, because you're not taught any sort of classical literature or anything. When I was in 10th grade, we had to read, of all things, in English class, Ethan Frome. Nobody should be reading Ethan Frome. And I was the guy, we all had to stand up and give our take on it. And I stood up and I looked the teacher in the eye and said, "This book sucks, and I'll tell you why right now." And my candor was not appreciated. Just let me tell you that. But after that, I said, you know what? I'm done. That's it. And I faked my way through everything, and I still got a good grade in the class. But at the same time, and the only thing I ever remember was the tragedy of Sorab. I don't know if you're familiar with that story, where the king actually accidentally kills his son, the Sorab and Rustam. I don't know if anybody remembers that one, but anyways, a great teacher. But anyway, I had a great teacher at the time. She really was passionate about the material, and it's understandable. Like I said, if there's just so much focus on what is it? Not Victorian, stuff like crap like Wuthering Heights, Jane Eyre, and that kind of stuff. There was just so much focus on this really dry, bland kind of literature that it's no wonder why we're not getting anything good.
Well, Wuthering Heights has got something going on in there.
It does? Is there any karate in it?
No. But
okay,
look, I would say though that if you go back,
knew a little judo.
I mean, come on. Kate Bush sang a song about it. It's got to be good, right?
I was listening to Cheap Trick back then, so I mean,
but no, I mean, look, there are classical stories that go back hundreds, if not thousands of years. There's traditions, and there are certain basic truths in human existence that have been paid forward in various stories. And those things, I think that's why why does Hamlet have such resonance across our civilization as it does? You can use that story. There's so much human truth in a lot of that. And that's what bubbles forward. And I think that our storytelling forms have existed, the concepts, like I love the story of Job. I love the story of Job, and a biblical story. I'm not even, I was raised a Jew. The Job is not necessarily something. Do I think that happened for real? No, but it's a great story, and it works. I mean, everything that's in that story is exactly the lesson of Job. Is it resonates even now today? Hell, you could do a great
perseverance.
Absolutely. You could do a Star Trek story about Job. As a matter of fact, you could mine the Bible for a whole season of Star Trek. And people are like, what, Rob, religious? I don't mean religious stories. I mean the allegories and all that. And that's what's forgotten about Star Trek. Star Trek at its essence is allegorical storytelling. And Star Trek Discovery and Star Trek Picard are the most unallegorical stories I've ever seen in the history of, I think, televised science fiction. They've completely fallen down on the job. They have no idea what a Star Trek story is supposed to be, and that's what's so frustrating about them.
One thing I also noticed is that, like, in the last, I would say 7 to 8 years, the whole mentality with regards to assignment work in the screenwriting area of the industry has been basically just get it done and move on to the next one. There's no concept of, I'm going to be working on the next Escape from New York adaptation. I better look at what Escape from New York is. It's like, nope, we're just going to be told it's an action year, New York's in prison, that's all you get. Or at least that's all they want to research. And then they go their own way. It's like, well, no, you kind of have to know that thing inside out and backwards for two reasons. One, understand the material. And two, recognize when you're accidentally copying it. Because you want to make something new, you have to understand how good it is so that you make something original. It's like, I don't really want to copy a scene where where Cabby is at the stage theater watching a whole bunch of male prisoners put on a Broadway show. It's like, yeah, you think it's, if you don't know the material and you come up with that idea on your own, you think, oh, that's good, but you completely miss the point that it's already been done, and you got to know what's been done so you can cross it off that list of ideas to make something a bit more fresh, which is what's being asked of you with assignment work. With Star Trek, especially in Discovery, nothing new or original is in there other than just like good ideas executed poorly because they didn't do the research of what those ideas could lead to.
You're absolutely right. I mean, by the way, I can't help but think, shoot a cop with a gun. The Big Apple is plenty of fun. Stab a priest with a fork, and you'll spend. I'm sorry.
No, it's a great number.
I love that number.
Where's that from? Where's that from?
It's from Escape from New York. Yeah. That's the actual the show that Cabby's watching.
Yeah.
Escape from New York.
I unfortunately had to watch Ghost from Mars, so I need to watch that. I need to watch a real John
Ghost from Mars
movie.
rules. Come on.
We gotta let Stephen go. He's got adulting to do. So check out Stephen Walton's channel. Isn't that correct, sir?
Yeah, guys. I got to go be a dad. I got to go adult. You guys are having a wonderful.
That's lucky, man.
Yeah, you guys are having a wonderful conversation. Thank you everybody in the chat for being here. Please share the link out, smash the like, subscribe to all these wonderful people. Robert, always a pleasure to be on the same panel with you, brother.
Good to see you, man. You know what? Whenever I hear your voice, I feel like you're the most mature person in the room.
Man, you don't watch anything on my channel then. Jason, I'll get up with you at some point. Wonderful meeting you, sir. I hope we can do that. Paulie, always a pleasure. Script Doctor, Rob, Queen Mecca, Hale, and Tom, thank you guys so much. I will talk to y'all later. Be good to each other.
Awesome.
Cheers.
See you later.
And I got to get to a few of these super chats. Some people have been very, 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 very patient with us.
Sorry.
No.
By the way, Robert, I loved your portrayal as Moses in Tango Shalom.
Well, thank you. It was so funny that scene was shot without sound, so that was my scratch track, and the director's like, no, just go re-record it. You got to have your voice. Thank you. Thank you very much. I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, man.
I got to check that out yet. I really want to see that. Dash DC says, "What do you think of Dragon Blade with Jackie Chan?" I have not seen it. Has anybody here seen Dragon Blade?
I haven't seen that one.
No, I don't think so.
Nope.
Doesn't sound like anybody has seen it, Dash DC, but hey, Jackie Chan, it's got karate in it. Rob's on board.
That's right.
So he'll check it out probably eventually. And when we do, we'll tell you. And I feel bad because he sent in another super chat later about it. But anyway, moving on, we got Glinzer saying, closest theater to me had 2 sold-out shows today. Ferris Bueller's Day Off, Indiana Jones and Last Crusade. Big L for Hollywood's new stuff. That's an interesting point because I noticed when I went through the box office numbers this last year, like the original Halloween had done really, really well, and a few other re-releases had done extremely well, and even better than some first-run films. It's crazy. I think
this is actually really good for these guys like me in the industry that talk about the value of timeless films.
Right.
Because so often in a pitch meeting or in a development meeting, you get that question of, well, how does this relate to today? And you have to be like, well, if we want to make it right now for today, is this really going to sell like a year from now? Because that's probably when the movie's going to be like in its final wraps of production, and then it's going to be released a year after that. So it's really thinking about today is the worst thing you could do for a movie. You got to think about how do you make this timeless? And it's just such a hard concept for a lot of new executives and producers to grasp nowadays, because they're all about, we need that money tomorrow, or we need that money yesterday type of thing.
You know, when the Zucker brothers, Zucker, Abrams, and Zuckers, where they were making Airplane, they said no contemporary clothing. They said no contemporary. We want all suits and clothing from the 50s to give it a timeless look to it.
Yeah, really. There's only a couple jokes in that movie that really date it. Like the jive talking joke and a few other things kind of.
Oh, the jive talking joke is great.
It's great, but I mean, that's like one of the very few things that kind of date it in any way, is what I'm saying. But yeah, I mean,
I tried learning jive after that as a kid. Nobody could teach me.
You're too white. That's the problem, Script. And you're Canadian, so you got 2 against you already. Ronnie Hirschwin, if I'm saying that right, says, excuse me, throw some more support. It's like prone minus the P. Roan. Okay, so Roan Harrelson. Now I got to work on the last name. Then Valiant Renegade. How you doing, buddy? Come in and said the coolest kid is now in the chat. Well, hello, Valiant Renegade. Christian Corleo says, in detail, what makes Resident Alien work? Rob.
The fact that it's on Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi.
Well, Rob, you know,
Resident Alien.
funny,
It's
well
a whole
written.
it's well written. It's the whole fish out of water thing. But it's hard to pin. Like Alan Tudyk is just fantastic.
Yes, he is.
I mean, it's like the one guy that this role was tailor made for. You found him.
I do need to check it out. It sounds like Elf with people. So
I think what happens is the fact that Alan Tudyck's character is he's so focused on his goal that he literally has no regard or care for any of the people around him because his whole plan is to kill them. So he's purely honest about a lot of things except for the fact that he's an alien. Like that's his only lie. And I think the thing that's really charming about it is that when people ask him questions, he gives honest answers and he's not polite about it. And you just kind of wish you had that cathartic aspect in our own society because we were taught to be a little bit more polite and courteous to other people.
Well, that's what social media is for.
There's a great scene where Darcy, as she's talking about, she's listen. I know we've gone on a couple times. Is that coffee for me? I would like some. And he's just so focused on getting the cup of coffee from her.
Yep. Or when his wife's about to leave and he's like, I can't have her leave. She makes that chicken I like.
It's so Elf. I got to see that. All right. Glinzer says, Lord of the Rings trilogy, the best movies of the 21st century. So far, you might be right on that. At least, well, I don't know. Some of the Marvel stuff rival is pretty. I mean, there's some stuff, and I mean, I'm sure Robert will agree, like that we saw with, you know, like the Avengers and a few other bits and pieces here and there throughout that run of Marvel films that as comic book fans and geek kids, we probably never thought we'd see.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, when I sat watching the Avengers the first time, 2012, I sat in the theater the whole time. I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I can't believe this is even real. Like, I can't believe I read comic books from the time I was a little kid, and it was already weird to see an Iron Man movie that I liked, and then Thor, and then Captain America. You know, even Iron Man 2. For as much as people complain about it, I mean, I loved watching War Machine and Iron Man fighting off those drones. I loved watching Mickey Rourke and Monaco slicing F1 cars in half. I mean, I'm like, I can't believe that I'm seeing this, and to watch Avengers, it was crazy to watch that movie. I can't tell you how weird it was. But best movies of the 21st century. I mean, I think they're great fantasy films. But
yeah,
I don't know. I think there's been a lot of great movies. There's been a lot of great movies.
Yeah, I mean, as far as
that goes back to Robert, your point earlier about the connections that all of these movies have, because you look at Jack Schaefer's resume, for example, and she doesn't have a whole lot as a track record. I'm convinced, Vision. Paul Bettany in Assembled, he even mentioned something that I've been saying for a long while. If you look at the Marvel movies as a television show,
right? That's what. Yes.
And Feige is the showrunner. And Tom had made the point, you know, as far as who's controlling and who's coming up with all of these stories, the fact that Jack Schaefer is the showrunner doesn't necessarily mean that she's the one in charge. Because if Feige's got his hands on it, I would bet even money that Feige's putting stuff in here that Schaefer doesn't even clue to. And that's probably what we're seeing some of that, you know, factor in with some of these things where you don't have the fans running things, except Feige is a fan. Feige is steeped in it.
He is a fan, and he worked for Donner, and he did work on 13 Marvel movies before the MCU.
Yeah, we sat and watched X2 today, and I saw his name up there. I was like, man, that's so weird to see his name on a Fox movie. But you forget that he was involved in those back in the day.
Yep.
All right. Well, next we have, let's see here. Hey, Pete from Crimpy Little Book. I don't know if he's still hanging out, but thank you so much for the super chat. Says 420 viewing. Hit that like button, you scallywags. That's right. I seen you guys were doing a little reunion the other night, Mecca. I missed it, but little creepy book reunion it was. Or high strangeness, I should say.
Just for a little, it was an impromptu little split
Yeah.
second thing. Yeah.
That was kind of cool. But yeah, hello, Pete. How you doing if you're still in the chat? The Mr. Tickle Trunk, our buddy Mr. Tickle Trunk says, wow.
Oh, hey, Mr. Tickle Trunk. How are you?
Almost all of my favorite people are here on the panel. If you manage to get Bruce Campbell, I might die happy right now. Anybody know Bruce? Send him the link.
I got an invite asking me if I was interested in interviewing Patrick Warburton and his kids a while back.
Oh,
I was like,
that'd be
yes,
cool.
we're interested.
Patrick's a cool guy.
I love his stuff. He's awesome. He's hilarious. Stephen Otten says it's a fucking rock. Catchphrase copyright 21. Indeed. YetiCast, how you doing, brother? Says Star Trek is boldly going where the series has never gone before, into the trash. Wow, it's been doing that now for the better part of 20 years. Hard to believe. 487 Sean Tower says, guys, it truly is not easy to say these franchises are dead. My level of care is 0. We need to promote good writers and fund them to produce better stuff, as simple as that. Yeah, we may be on the beginning of a cusp of something here. You know, Robert, has worked on things in the past and recently, but I'm curious what your observation on this whole thing is, Robert, being somebody who's from both the outside and kind of the inside of, our community, but the inside of Hollywood, and we're coming from the outside of that community. But we're seeing a lot of projects coming together, not just in comic books now, but Mr. H has done some short films.
Yeah, did you watch that short he put up? He sent me a link to it today.
He sent me a link. I haven't got a chance to check it out yet today.
I really liked it.
Yeah, I know. I want to check it out myself. I know some of the stuff he's been working on, and I've seen one of his other shorts. And I mean, he's been doing great work. So,
I really like him a lot.
Have you seen the new Batman fan film?
Yes.
Another great example.
I haven't seen it yet, but I'm hearing a lot of good stuff.
It is good.
I didn't find it all that awesome.
It was all right. I thought it was all right. I thought it was
it retreaded a lot of old ideas.
Yes, it did. But my point was
it did.
But
the execution was cool.
Yeah, my point was the execution.
I don't have X problem with that.
This is how you do a TV show. Why don't we have this every single fucking week? Like, how hard is this for WB to put this together? And Gary and I, in one of our very first conversations, I remember talking about this. We were going like, why don't they just take the animated series and do it live action? It'd be cheap and it'd be the #1 show on television. Everybody would fucking watch it.
But then the problem is the people that they hire to make it they'd be like, oh, why do we have to make something that's already been done?
Yeah. Well, no, I didn't say it had to necessarily be but I get what you're saying, Robert. But yeah, the point is something like that could be done. I'm so sick of having a dozen shows about Batman without Batman in them. Just give me a fucking Batman show. How hard is it, right? And this is a great, if this was a pilot episode for a Batman TV show coming to HBO Max, take my money now, even though I already have HBO Max. You know what I mean?
I'm curious what the Gotham PD show is going to be.
Who cares? It's going to be the same thing as Gotham.
Well, but if it's Gotham Central, if it's anything close to what Gotham Central was, there might be some potential there.
Okay, it's supposed to be attached to the Matt Reeves show, but the script's a little there. Tells me he's probably seen a script or two.
I haven't seen a script, but I've heard some talks, and it's basically just Bruno Heller's Gotham redone for the Matt Reeves style.
Told you.
My understanding. And I did not like Bruno Heller's Gotham at all. I thought it was such a wasted opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah, Gotham was.
They decided to lean into the crazy about late season 2, early season 3, when they just decided, okay, heck with it, we're just gonna do this thing, and then I think certain people enjoyed it more, but I think it also went off the rails at the same time.
Gotham, yeah.
Well, here's the problem. If you make Batman villains appear in Gotham and the police can stop them without the aid of Batman, what is the point of Batman?
Exactly. Right. And not only that, Batman showing up is responsible for a lot of these villains taking it to that next level, so it loses a lot of its point. It'd be cool to see the early versions of some of these characters, and that's what Gotham started as. And I did, like Jason, like you were saying, like the first season or so, I was on board. And then when it started going full on like Smallville, I'm like, all right, fuck this shit, I'm out. Like I can't. No, you've taken it way too far. But I loved seeing the little power plays with like the Penguin is a great character you can bring in early, and seeing a younger version of him. But you don't need to touch the Joker. You don't need to touch hardly any of the other characters. Bringing in Edward as a part of the Gotham PD, no problems with that. Certain things there they first started on the ideas of, I was really great with, and then all of a sudden they started making all these characters like the Joker business and all this others. It's like, no, you're going way too far, because like script was just saying that point, and my point exactly was, you can't have these things happen until Batman's in the picture.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it's a cause and effect. He's created by the crime that's already happening in Gotham. Those criminals see Batman and they're like, well, we've got to take it up a notch. And that's exactly where the Joker comes from, is he's a response to Batman. You know, he's
well,
taking,
if you look at his Red Hood origins, if you take that one as you know, a selection from the multiple choice, Joker existing is Batman's fault.
Exactly. That's kind of what I was getting at. Like, and I love that dance with them too. Is like, I mean, that's the one thing I didn't really have such an issue that I kind of liked about, but I also have a love-hate with Tim Burton 89 Batman, was that, you know, him killing Bruce Wayne's parents created Batman, and then Batman created the Joker. Like, I did kind of like that triangle for a little bit there, but it still doesn't work with the original mythos of Batman, because it kind of takes away Batman's drive. Because that's kind of the whole point, is he can never actually get his revenge on the people that killed his parents, because, you know,
one mystery he can't solve. Yeah,
exactly. It's the one thing he can't do. And it's kind of the whole thing with Superman. One of the biggest points of his father dying, or at least learning a lesson from his dad that we don't get in Man of Steel, is that you can't save everybody, you know. And then they even made that point to put that flashback, whatever vision scene in Batman v Superman that should have been in Man of Steel, where he also tries to teach him that, you know, yes, you can be heroic, but you're, you know, being a hero also has consequences and responsibility.
They even got that right in Superman and Lois.
Yeah, and I've heard that. I really want to check that show out.
It's good.
I've heard a lot.
Pretty good,
Robert.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Episode 3 was really good.
Yeah,
there's an
one.
episode of Lois and Clark where they do that just as well without having to have Jonathan Kent die, and it's actually a really good one.
Yeah.
And it's Lois that helps him realize that you can't save everybody, and it's not enough that you do save everybody, but it's still important, the fact that you can.
Yeah.
You can do it in many, many ways. You don't have to be his father, but like the whole point of his dad being like, no, and then the tornado killing him was just so stupid.
Very contrived.
Oh my
yeah.
gosh. I mean,
of the many things that Superman can do is save you from a tornado.
Yeah, like,
do it at super speed and nobody sees him.
Exactly.
He doesn't even have to do it at super speed. He just hides somewhere, uses a super breath and heat vision to change the temperature around the tornado and allow it to dissipate, and you're done. Like,
ain't you seen Superman 3? He fucking turns the tornado inside out. You heard Richard Pryor.
Yeah.
Then he came in and he turned the tornado upside down.
Was pretty dope in episode 3 what he did, huh?
Dude.
Yeah, Superman's back, and you know, I'm like trying to curb my enthusiasm here, but
you know, it's really
that's
interesting.
Easy stuff to do for Superman. It's the hard stuff, like the relationships. I mean, one thing that grinds my gears about Superman and Lois is that they have some great moments where Clark is being a dad and being a fun dad and a wise dad, but all the other times it's like his kids are upset with him for stuff that's really easy, like things a parent would figure out within the first 3 years before the kids learned how to talk.
Yeah.
Well, that part of the character though is that he's not attuned to that kind of stuff. Is that part of the joke? I haven't seen the show yet, but
part of it too is the fact that he's gone so much being Superman.
Right.
That's
that all of a sudden they're like teenage men. Yeah. They're teenage boys.
But I get where script is coming too.
Yeah, but speaking as the dad of a teenager who has dealt with the angry kid, you know, who blames you for everything. It's not easy to figure out some of this stuff from when they're 2 or 3 years old. You're sitting there going, "Oh crap, what do I do now?" And you know, you've got this little ball of mush in your hands, and you're responsible for molding it. I mean, it's a scary thing.
Oh, and I'll tell you right now, you don't know a teenager from one day to the next either.
No.
I've been there. Like I have 7 god kids, and I had to raise them with their parents as well because it's a small town, and they were teen pregnancies, and we all had to go through that angst. And you learn pretty quick by the time that first adolescence, where you let them cry it out as much as they can, however they want to, and at the end you say, "Great, now did you solve your problem?" And then they look at you blank stare like, "No." It's like, "Okay, you ready to listen?" And yeah, and it worked with 6 different kids. The 7th one is just a stubborn jerk, and he's gonna have the hardest one out of all of them. But 6 kids from 4 different families, yeah, you kind of figure out how to do this stuff pretty quick. And it's one of the things why my current girlfriend really, really likes me, is because I can deal well with some of her younger cousins and siblings really well when they're in there.
Yeah, going back to what you were saying though about Superman and Lois, I think those are good problems to have. I think it's an enjoyable show, and they haven't made him. He's still a good male. He's becoming a good male role model there. Good father figure, and doing his best.
Yeah,
and there's just a hint of Chris Reeve. He doesn't overdo it.
No, I agree with that.
Every now and again, just a wink,
great
nod,
point.
but it's not overdone. He takes, Tyler Hoechlin does his own thing.
Yeah,
but he has fun with it too.
Yeah.
I mean, one of the best moments of the last episode was he's carrying the water cooler, and he's like, "Hey, can you help me carry this?" And he's like, "Am I doing it? Am I making it too big?" Like, he's doing fun dad stuff that I think is totally fitting for Superman to play around with his kid. Yeah. Pretending to be like, a normal human or a weaker one. And I'm like, yeah, that's kind of in there. But moments where he's not able to tell Jordan, like, you know what, you're half human, you're half Kryptonian, there's no guarantees. He would never, ever say, you're going to be as powerful as me or anything of that nature. He'd be like, we got to go one step at a time. Like, that's a Clark Kent Superman type of thing. He's not going to jump to a conclusion, but they write him as a character that jumps to conclusions. And it's
making mistakes. Yeah. I see your point.
Well, having with the angry teenager though, with him dealing with Jordan and not able to figure out where Jordan's coming from, those are easy mistakes to make. I've made those mistakes myself. So,
but you think that'd be something avoidable, because again, Superman is an alien with powers who has gone through a lot of that stuff already. He should be very aware of the lessons that he learned from his parents and be able to replicate them for his kid, or at least be able to gauge from his kid what he should be able to do, because he's gone through all of that before. I mean, the one flaw of any parent is not remembering what it was like being a child.
Well, maybe that's part of what his growth in the show.
And it's really hard to remember being a child, because there's so much information that you get between the ages of 15 and, like, say 35, that just completely nulls a lot of the experiences and emotions that you would otherwise remember as a kid.
But if he knew all the answers, that really wouldn't be good television.
Right. And that's
right. It's not about knowing all the answers. It's don't rely on the easy stuff. You're dealing with a kid that's learning superpowers and is half human. There are different things that you can explore through that. They gave him like severe anxiety disorder. Yeah. That's a lazy thing to do for a kid. Like, if anything, you want to have the relationship be like, oh, they realize Jordan has some powers. Maybe Clark is being a little bit more attentive to him than Jonathan, and Jonathan's now jealous of that. Yeah. That is a more complicated and more believable Superman role.
That might pop up still.
There have been some bits of that, and that could still be a thing. But I think both boys have powers.
They probably do. Yeah,
it's a lot of fun. I'm still not excited about the actor playing Lois Lane. I love Lana Lang better, that actress.
Yeah. I mean, come on, all the way from Entourage.
Entourage, baby.
Yeah.
Lois has always been a tough one to cast. There's only been a few who have gotten it right. I think Hungry Boy's right here, though. There's only been one true tornado, and his name is Muhammad Ali. No, but Robert, you were going to say something about the show before we got into that long thing. I don't remember what you were going to say. But.
Well, no, I just appreciate the tone of it all. To me, it seems like the CW shows have been fine. I've enjoyed watching them, but this feels like they're trying to elevate the discourse. But what I was going to say was, having worked on Superman Returns, they're doing. I kind of wish that this approach to have two teenage sons takes the Superman mythos into uncharted territory that at once is unfamiliar, but at the same time is also really interesting. Like I Superman as a dad while still being Superman, I find that kind of irresistible. And it was something they were going into with Superman Returns. you know, it didn't quite work. But this, they just went ahead and said, "Yep, Superman has 2 teenage sons." Where did they come from? You know, it's not like they were dealing with that on the sea. I just like the fact that they just embrace this idea. It's doing something new with the Superman mythos. I don't like the fact that they've made his son, one of his sons, is it Jordan? Is that his name? He's like so emo and so like volatile. I get it. I understand, but I'm like, if you found out that you had any kind of extraterrestrial imbued powers, no matter what they were, I'd be pretty stoked. Even if they were sporadic and I was never going to be as good as my father, I'd be like, bruh.
Especially a character like Jordan, who we know likes Star Trek because he talks about this Vulcan salute. There's so much there.
I'm like, are you telling me I'm half extraterrestrial? Even if I knew that, I'd be, I am the shit. I am the most, I would be so stoked about that. Even if my powers might not manifest or whatever, you know, I mean, I would be so happy that, oh my God, I am the second most special person on the planet Earth.
Right.
Whatever, man.
But I think that's the beginning for him. I think
right. No, it is, of course.
Yeah.
And because it already feels like he's kind of coming out of that a little bit. I won't spoil it for Tom, but it feels like we're on the cusp of things changing for him in that sense.
Well, you know, what I'm liking is that for me, that the Superman son storyline is way more interesting than Lois Lane and, you know, finding out what she needs to find out about the bad people storyline. I'm like, I could care less.
Yeah. I mean, look, the whole idea of Superman having sons is not original. I mean, it's been dealt with before and same with Batman in various iterations in comics. And so, but we haven't seen it in media before. And I think that makes the show sort of interesting. I mean, they still have to go back to the tropes of they have to play the troubled teenage sons and all that. And I get it, but it's
CW.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
But I think the way it looks, I love the look of the show. It harks back to the Donner Superman and what Ryan was trying to emulate with Superman Returns. It feels a little different. And look, here's the thing. The fact that look at it this way. The fact that we're getting a Superman show that I like, I'm like, that's a huge win.
A big win. Yeah.
Like I've tuned in for 3 episodes and I'm like, this is pretty good. And like For All Mankind, which is another show. For All Mankind is a show that even Ron Moore said this. I feel that it is the Star Trek prequel show that isn't really a Star Trek prequel show, but it is. It's an alternate universe. It's the beginning of it's not our history. It's an alternate history. I feel that For All Mankind is the Star Trek origin series, and I'm quite enjoying it on that level.
Yeah, as far as Superman goes, I mean, he's actually my favorite superhero. You wouldn't know it considering how harsh I am on Man of Steel, but that's one of the reasons why. And yeah, I kind of held off on this show because I'm waiting for the bottom to drop out like a lot of people. But again, like you said, Robert, it's a huge win to have a show like this. And again, it's another my idea for a Superman story shot in the foot, because I've always had this idea with, him having a kid storyline. But anyway, but mine was Lois dies during childbirth. So what happens is
how uplifting.
Yeah, but what happens then is Clark just kind of becomes detached from both being a father and being Superman. And Martha's doing most of the raising of the child. And in that, he grows distant. And of course, Lex Luthor gets in the picture and becomes an influence on the kid. So it basically becomes this idea of where you have, the son who has the same powers, but now it looks up to Lex Luthor as more of a father figure than his own father, because Clark neglected him all this time. But then he comes around to the idea and has to figure it all out. But this was years ago. I had this idea, but
like an inverse Darth Vader story.
But wasn't there an issue of a comic book that did that, like an alternate Man of Tomorrow type of thing, where Lois died in childbirth because the half Kryptonian baby killed
her? If they did that, then there goes my whole story.
Well, the rest of it though is not there. I remember the part about Lois dying in childbirth, but this is, I think, probably late 70s, early 80s when this was done. It was a one-off. It was like a not an Elseworlds because they weren't doing Elseworlds yet.
I mean, it does sound dark. People are like,
whatever happened to the Man of Tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah.
Alan Moore story.
But basically, the point is, though, then throughout it, not only does Clark reconnect with his son, but he also reconnects with Superman.
Yeah.
So it's like the whole idea of like by the end is like he needs to be a father and he also needs to be Superman. So yeah,
I've been cast as the Latino. Was it Joe Jameson? So
what?
Hey, Jonah Jameson.
Yeah, Hungry Boy saying.
Oh, okay.
I can play him. I'm like, sure, man.
Spider-Man's a menace.
Get me pictures of Spider-Man.
Give me pictures. Yeah. You're fired, Holmes. Okay, now you're hired. I'm fire you, Wade. Now you're hired.
Blood in, blood out.
Yes. Speaking of
Blood in, blood out. The East Los Angeles Godfather. I cannot get enough of that.
Robert, you don't
stick
know what
around
you're saying
after
right
the show. I know you
stick around after
out right away, but please, if you're
By
still
Carnell.
here,
Come
we
on.
got something to tell you that getting excited about.
About blood in, blood out.
Maybe
Yeah.
I can't say right now because we haven't got everything set in stone yet. So, it'll be something you'll
Dude,
find
you know what? My love for that movie, and by the way, you have to watch the extended. Why don't they put
the
that
3-hour
out?
cut? Oh yeah,
Yeah, man. I've got my Anchor Bay. I've got my Anchor Bay DVD.
It's full screen.
It's not bound by honor, even though it's called Blood in, Blood out, bound by honor. But let me tell you, if you guys haven't seen this movie, it's so good.
Yep.
I love it, and it's based on a poet's work.
Jimmy
I can't say out in public yet because we haven't done any formal announcements. But yeah, like I said,
that's a whole nother stream, Robert. Let's as far as the origins.
You know what? I'll bet you.
Mhm.
Do you know that Taylor Hackford, who directed that, he's married to Helen Mirren?
Yeah.
I bet you we could get Taylor Hackford to come on a live stream.
Let's hang out right after.
Oh, okay. He also directed Devil's Advocate and Officer and a Gentleman.
I can't talk about it.
Sorry, never mind.
Please.
I'm
But yeah,
stepping
please
into
stick
something
around.
I don't know.
Please, no.
Yeah.
Please stick around afterwards. Though.
Yeah, apparently he had a camera on La Bamba as well. He had a
Did he?
moving Remember what Jeff said?
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Anyway,
I don't know why that movie is not revered.
Which one?
Blood in, Blood out. I don't know why people. The film fan community.
We keep going back to it.
I'm sorry, I can't get. Now that I'm thinking about it, I'm looking at my DVD of it. I want it on Blu-ray.
Right.
Yeah.
By the way, what a score that movie has. Is it James Horner? Who scored that movie?
I thought it was Santana, or is that?
Yeah, it might be. Yeah,
Like a little bit.
Might be both of them.
Sorry, I shouldn't talk. How random that I bring it up, and then
that
there's
was
something
very.
to talk about.
Well, it's not. Well, yeah, that's the oddness of it. It's come up quite a bit lately, and yeah. Who does do the music on it? Bill Conti did the music.
That's right.
No.
It's Bill Conti. I have that score too, and
cool.
yes, it's Bill Conti.
You're right. Yeah, Bill Conti.
That's one
Who did the score for Your Eyes Only, the Bond film.
Yep, and the Karate Kid, and
Yep.
Rambo, or not Rambo, Rocky. That's what I meant.
People are like, what's Blood in, Blood out? What are you talking about?
You'll know soon enough.
Bound by honor.
You'll know soon enough.
Jason, have you ever seen it?
I have not.
Oh wow.
Okay, we gotta get. How about anyone else on the panel?
You know, we can stream it on Twitch. I'll play my DVD over Twitch. We can. Who's gonna stop me?
Is it on Amazon Prime?
No, it is
no.
not.
No,
It
it's
is.
very hard.
It's like completely hard to find.
Well, the problem is there's two versions of it.
Yeah.
The edited version sucks. I mean, it doesn't suck,
You
but
can't even
not.
find that version.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm not giving up my DVD anytime soon.
Yeah, I wouldn't because it's difficult to find.
Yeah.
I don't know the circumstances behind that, but I would definitely love to find out. And you never know. We just might. Anyway, I'm Tax Shark.
Wow, I'm suddenly intrigued. Wow, how this is craziness. I don't even know what I said, man. I'm like, wow.
You have no idea what you just said, dude.
I have none. That's the most random shit ever.
I know. That's why I said usually you check out right away, but please do stick around after the show. We'll tell you everything.
Yes, please.
Kit Kat sent in 10. That's 10 pound super sticker or super chat. Says new Strange Worlds will have the trash degraded learning disabled emo Spock from Discovery. No one who loves Spock would watch a second of Strange New Worlds. Not after I like science. I don't disagree with you. I'm not expecting the show to be good. I'm just talking about the fact that they're, and I know even Mecca jumped on this too. I'm not holding my breath, but I think it's funny that it's more and more they're having to admit how much they fucked up on this show, basically.
Well, and what's so funny about Strange New Worlds is they have the pilot already. It's called The Cage. They've already made that pilot. Back to that pilot and go make that show, because it's very different from the Star Trek that eventually got made. Just go make that there's your pilot and go do that. As a matter of fact, why not just reshoot that pilot with all the new cast?
Right.
That's what I do. Take the script and shoot that exact. Actually, that would be so badass if they did that. If they took their pilot script if they took the script for The Cage and reshot it, and that would be the first episode of Strange New Worlds. If that would be the most baller stuff ever, because then they would have nowhere to go. People couldn't complain.
Yeah,
true. And Sister Harrow sent in a $5 donation. Didn't say anything, but thank you so much.
Sister Harrow cracked me up today.
Oh yeah, what'd she do?
She sent me a chat, and she sent me a super chat and says, "Here's so you can buy some more crap." I love that. I love that on our physical media show. So thank you, Sister Hal.
I so want to be on that one of these days.
Why do you come on? Come on. Why not?
I'm wanting to.
Come on.
Ulrich Cole sends in a super chat that says, Mead confirmed Tom will watch Strange New Worlds. Did you not think Andre was going to let me get away with not watching Strange New Worlds? I mean, seriously though, if it was by choice, no, I would not watch it though. But thank you for that, Ulrich. Appreciate that. But yeah, I'm sure Andre will be forcing us to watch it. We're still checking into the Geneva Convention, right, Rob?
Oh yeah. That's Andre's got to pay for his transgressions. So
we'll get him back one of these days.
How many brain cells have I've lost watching Discovery?
Well, no, like the end of that last bit, like, right? What did I say, Rob? I think my brain was trying to protect itself from the stupidity.
Yeah.
Like it would like shut itself down. I found myself having to keep like going back. And I'm like, what am I missing here? What is going on? I don't understand anything anymore. My brain is shutting down. So, and yeah, Darius, it might be good. It might be. It could be. Pig might fly out of my butt, right?
Yeah, monkeys might fly out of my butt.
They're monkeys, yeah. Oh, Lord. Stephen Otten coming in again with another $5 super chat says, there is a book called The Greatest Sci-Fi Movies Ever Made. Never made, sorry. That was a whole chapter devoted to Star Trek. It breaks my heart knowing what Star Trek could have been. Oh, yeah, there's some really great movies that have never been made. And that's something we've thought about looking into as well. And I know, Robert, that's something in script, and a few of us are really interested in his movies. That
I desperately want to cover the Tom Mankiewicz Batman script he wrote in like 82, 83.
Yeah.
That's actually a fun script.
Oh, you should.
I'd love to check that one out. Because he's really responsible for a lot of what happened in Superman the movie.
He rewrote Mario Puzo.
Yeah, well, and that was the thing, is they made Superman a joke in his version. If you've heard the commentaries or seen the making ofs or anything like that. So Miguel Hernandez says, what do you guys think of the new Star Trek Renegades project? They're crowdfunding and it will feature Walter Koenig and Tim Russ again.
Doing another Star Trek Renegades?
Because they're not calling it Star Trek Renegades anymore. It's just
they've got the Confederation they use now is what they.
Yeah, because after the whole Axanar mess, they dropped Star Trek.
I don't know anything about that.
I heard a little, but yeah, I don't know much.
What's
but
Axanar?
Robert wouldn't know anything about Axanar.
Nothing.
Not a darn thing. Never heard.
What's this Axanar you speak of?
Yeah, I don't know.
All I know is that was mentioned in the Star Trek the original series.
Yeah, and also there was an Enterprise episode where they went to Axanar.
You know, I would think I would have liked to see season 5 of Enterprise, because after having talked to Manny Cotto about it and heard some of the ideas that he had, and knowing that he doesn't like Picard, I think season 5 of Enterprise would have been better to watch than the first couple of seasons. Season 4 started to get there.
Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in season 4.
Yeah, it's my favorite season of Enterprise, actually.
Yeah.
It found its
'cause that one
footing
actually
finally.
feels like Star Trek.
Yeah.
All right. Next up, we've got Joe Pat 87 who says, given the relation Vision has, when I think it's fitting that Growing Pains and Malcolm in the Middle had their pastiches back to back. Never mind the red herring with Pietro.
They still might do something with that, with Evan Peters, maybe.
Mm-hmm.
No, rumor is he's supposed to be in the next Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness.
Yeah.
Yeah, but will he still be that character? Like, that's the thing, is they kind of really screwed the pooch on that, if you ask me. But we'll see what they do with it. Fezman93 says it was the media to blame for Luke Skywalker cameo headline, and Vision trolled us. Yeah, that's back in the conversation when we were talking about WandaVision and fan expectations and what we actually got out of the show.
Well, how much of that do you think was affected by the schedule being so screwed up because of the lockdown? Because WandaVision was not supposed to be the first one that rolled.
Right.
I think there's actually a super chat that covers that, or if not a chat, I seen a comment at the time. I think I put on screen one or the other that kind of addressed that. And yeah, this was not meant to go first. That's a possibility.
Because if this one had rolled right into Doctor Strange 2, then you might have been able to do something different with it.
Maybe.
I'm wondering how much they had to change it.
Yeah, that's a good question too. And we did a video about the editing of the show, and everybody like just jumped our shit. It's like, you're not even understanding that this is, we're just reporting the news, but okay, whatever. And then the show turns out to be shit, but I don't hear anybody saying sorry. But anyway, just saying. Felicity Poubelle says, I'm sorry, but blaming the fans for their expectations is their laziest argument against people don't like something they didn't stick the landing. Yeah, kind of what I was just saying before is I in this case, I hate it when they blame fans for fans not liking something to begin with. Even if, yeah, sometimes there's certain things you could make that argument that, you didn't get something you weren't promised in the first place. But in this case, between the media, what certain things were said, even if it was a tongue-in-cheek joke on the part of what's his face who plays Vision,
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany. You guys still went out there and you said what you said, and it built up a lot of expectations. And
how much do you think was that to deflect away from Star Wars? Get people talking about WandaVision, get all this hype and all this expectation, and
part of it could have been.
Don't be looking over here at this
the timing of that, yeah,
mono-shaped thing over here, yeah.
But you also have just the situation, the problem that, when you promise fans something like this, and then the Pietro thing, they totally kind of yanked the rug underneath people with that, because a lot of people thought that was opening the door for, other Fox X-Men to come back, and it really wasn't.
Still could. Multiverse,
but yeah, I don't think it's going to be as cool as we think now. That's what I'm afraid of. I hope I'm wrong. I do. I really do. But all right, we got to move along here to our next super chat. Pudding Tang 2 says, just getting a chance to start the stream from the beginning. Is Rob still talking about Resident Alien at this point in the stream?
Oh, you mean Resident Alien Wednesdays at 10 on Sci-Fi?
He is now. Then Culture Casino says, dinner, listening, save great storytelling. Yes, thank you. Warwolf 1, I got to get back to you. And I seen your message from the other day. As a writer, I try to write for me first, because if I don't like what I'm writing, why would anyone else? Oh yeah, I think that's pretty much across the board. And anything you're doing as far as art goes, film, music, anything, writing, just books, whatever. Absolutely, comics, whatever. And then Dash DC come back with, and this is what I was talking about earlier. Geez, my Dragon Blade question is like asking brain surgeon about heartburn. Sorry, LOL. Sorry we hadn't heard about it, man. I feel really bad now that you sent 2 super chats about it. But if I get a chance and if I get a chance to watch Dragon Blade, I will watch it now just for you. Okay, I promise. Stephen Otten says Drunk 3PO reporting that National Geographic is refusing to air Gina's episode of Bear Grylls show. Bear Grylls, if I'm saying that right. Has
Bear
anyone
Grylls.
else heard about this? No, I haven't, but I'm not surprised because isn't the National Geographic channel owned by Disney?
Yep.
Yeah.
I believe
Drunk
so.
posted a screen cap of the episode list at it running wild with Bear Grylls, and
Yeah.
the episode with Gina is not there.
Oh, there you go. I'm not surprised. Yeah.
So lame.
Yeah.
So lame.
Cancel culture at work, folks. I'm sure we'll get into that more this week on the morning show.
And I think they're still trying to make a thing out of her family in Vegas.
Jesus, that has got to be that is the most racist shit, I swear. Anyhow, I don't even want to comment on that right now. But it's just so sad. Captain Hare, speaking of sad, says someone find me Ghostbusters 2016, the karate cut. He is desperate for Rob to watch Ghostbusters. It will happen, Captain Hare, sooner than later. Diego Flores says, so Tom, are we going to talk about the Loki trailer, or that will be tomorrow? Probably tomorrow. I haven't seen it yet myself. I'll probably talk about that on the morning show with Andre and whatnot. We got to get Robert on one of those, but that conflicts with your Campia gig.
Yeah, only on Thursdays in the morning. Yeah, because I do Campia from Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, and then Friday.
Yeah, and then of course Monday and Wednesday and Friday are the day we do it.
I know.
But we got to get caught up on 007 again. I get bugged about that.
Yeah, we need to do that, man. I mean, when's No Time to Die coming out?
A couple, pretty soon. So we're gonna.
You might have a couple of years, but you never
know.
Yeah.
2030 is what we were told earlier. No, it'll be out like in November. I think Mecca's right.
In the year 2525.
In the year 2525. Then we had the $5 from Sister Harold. Thank you again. Mr. Tickle Trunk says a good chef doesn't blame their customers. That's right. That is a very good point. And that also reminds me of when Jason Isaac says, well, when you don't like your meal, you don't yell at the waiter, do you? You're like, well, no, not exactly. But yeah, you kind of do. You complain to the waiter, who then goes to the chef and tells them what's wrong. Mm-hmm. So he walked right into that one. And then Felicity Poubelle says, coulda, shoulda, only works if people stay invested. WandaVision didn't get me reinvested in MCU post Endgame. And I think that's a very valid point. And I think a lot of people are going to be kind of in that boat. And with that, we are caught up on super chats, actually. But with that, does anybody want to comment on that? Do you think we've reached an era now where it's post Endgame? Do you think that a large portion of the audience is going to check out? Do you think a lot of people think it's too much work to stay invested in the MCU now?
No, because I think what's interesting about the MCU is it gives us a bunch of different stuff. The Falcon and Winter Soldier, if it's more of a Tom Clancy-esque international spy thriller superhero espionage vibe, it could be. I mean, it looks. What I love about what we're getting now is it seems to me that the MCU is going Lethal Weapon. It's going buddy cop.
Mm-hmm.
And they're just like they went 70s conspiracy thriller with Winter Soldier. Now they're giving us Lethal Weapon, 48 Hours, Midnight Run, Running Scared, 80s buddy cop vibe combined with Tom Clancy, combined with superheroes. It looks great. I mean, we're getting this. Television is hugely ambitious and hugely expensive, no expense spared. So I'm in. I mean, it's a very different thing. If you didn't like WandaVision, here's Falcon and Winter Soldier. And after that, you've got Black Widow. And then after that, you've got Loki. And then you've got the animated What If. And then after that, you have Hawkeye. And then you get Eternals. And then you get Spider-Man 3. I mean, it's pretty ambitious.
Well, and I think also the fact that I think one of the reasons why the Marvel movies have lasted as long as they have is because Feige's not making superhero films.
Right.
He's making comic book movies, but he's also making, like you say, the spy thriller, the World War II movie, taking a particular type of movie. I mean, Ant-Man was a heist movie.
Yep.
And you're taking those and you're adding capes where, you have the different types of films within the superhero milieu. I think I said that right. I've got to get that in at least once a week. But you have that that melding of those two, and it's not primarily a superhero film. That just happens to be the world that it's in, and I think that's one of the things that DC is still missing the boat on, is trying to figure all of this stuff out, because Marvel is making the comic book movie, DC is making movies based on comic books, and their approach is so completely different. But Marvel is also making the comic book movies not superheroes, is the spies and the soldiers and all this other stuff within that world. I think that's one of the reasons why it works so well. We had talked about how long this bubble was going to last, and we had a friend of ours had predicted that this whole thing was going to burst, I don't know, probably 5 or 6, 7 years ago now. We've gone well past the time when anybody should expect this to last. So who knows how long it's going to go. And phase 4 probably will do the same kind of thing. We'll get a kung fu movie. We'll get
we are getting a kung fu movie in Shang-Chi.
Yep. And Black Widow is going to be the girl from Uncle.
Yeah. Yep.
Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, it's going to be, I'm fascinated to see where this goes, because I'm still entertained. So far.
Yeah. And that's the trick, is how long can they keep it up?
Yeah. Well, what I find interesting is I do think that they need a goal again. Like they need, one of the things that I think was interesting was leading up to, I still find Infinity War and Endgame, just as an example of fantasy filmmaking, I find them hugely enjoyable, because they go full on Marvel Comics summer annual crossover craziness. Yeah. And I can't believe what I watch when I watch, especially the beginning, the first 25 minutes of Infinity War, where you first see the Asgardian ship, Thanos fights Hulk, Thanos subdues Thor, Hulk is thrown to his sanctum sanctorum, Doctor Strange meets Tony Stark for the first time. I'm like watching the first 25 minutes of Infinity War, like I can't, if you showed my 8-year-old self this, I would have had a sugar high and died of an epileptic or a diabetic seizure, because I couldn't have believed everything they crammed into the first 25 minutes. That I'm like, oh my God, I would have died. I still can't believe it. I watched it. I'm like, I can't. They have an argument about Ben and Jerry's ice cream.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange calls Iron Man a douche. I mean, it's like, what? I can't believe that it exists, to be honest. So for that,
well, it was earned. I mean, they spent a long time getting us to that point.
I know, and it's like the talk about wizards. Look, they had me when it's one of the big three. Aliens, androids, or what was the third one? The three: aliens, androids, and something AI, and sorcerers, wizards. I have
karate in it.
I can't wait. Well, you got Shang-Chi. Which must be, I can't, look, we're getting Shang-Chi. I can't believe we're getting Shang-Chi. Paul Gulacy and Doug Mensch. I used to love Shang-Chi when I was a kid.
I can't believe we're getting Shang-Chi, because I'd never heard of Shang-Chi up until now. Honestly, I read Marvel comics all through the 80s. Shang-Chi never came up once.
Oh, see, okay, here's the thing. Doug Mensch wrote Shang-Chi, and Doug Mensch wrote Moon Knight. And I was a huge Moon Knight fan, and Paul Gulacy, the artist who I loved, he did a miniseries called Six from Sirius, and this is like Epic Comics, so early 80s. And I went on a Paul Gulacy kick, and when I found out that Paul Gulacy and Doug Mensch teamed up and wrote Shang-Chi, I'm like, oh, I gotta read that. And what was really interesting about Shang-Chi was back in the 70s, Marvel licensed literary characters. That's how they did Conan, but they also licensed Fu Manchu.
Yeah.
And in the, I know, crazy, right? So in the original Shang-Chi comics, Fu Manchu is Shang-Chi's father, and he's like this criminal mastermind. Of course, they lost the rights. So then for the Shang-Chi movie, they hired Tony Leung, who's one of my favorite actors. He was in Hard Boiled. He was in like Lust Caution. they're making a Tony Leung action figure from Lust Caution. I pre-ordered it. I can't believe it even exists. But they hired Tony Leung, who's got to be playing the Mandarin. I don't know if he is, but he's got to be playing the Mandarin, who's Shang-Chi's father. I'm like, I'm done. The fact that they hired Tony Leung to play the Mandarin, who's probably Shang-Chi's father, I can't believe it. So the kid in me is like, I'm so excited for Shang-Chi. I can't even begin to tell you how many levels of excitement I have for this. But like Rob, no one, I'm the only person on the planet Earth that is excited for Shang-Chi. Nobody remembers it's even coming out.
I'm cautious because I'm excited for two reasons. One, I know the main actor personally who plays Shang-Chi. I know Simu Liu. I've worked with him. He's a cool guy. I love Kim's Convenience. Yeah, that show's not coming back. It's crazy. No CBC show ever ends this early.
What the hell happened there? Something bad.
No, I think Simu has decided not to come back for another season, and Paul Sung-Hugh is, I think, working at Disney with another show.
Yes,
and I think that because they're not coming back, they're not able to get any more. And that's my theory. I've only had one person suspect that's the same thing, who's similar, close to the production, but it's not 100% official. On that's the reason. They're just kind of ending it. But the main reason for reservation for Shang-Chi is that the principal screenwriter for it is Dave Callahan, and I'm not a fan of his work. I don't like what he writes. I think he's a terrible writer. And I don't know if he is able to fit if he meets the requirements for the Marvel standards, because we do know those can be faltered because we've seen it in Captain Marvel.
Right.
So, I really don't want this to be a bad movie, because I actually really I like a lot of the people in the film, and I want it to be successful.
I look, man, to me, the fact that they're doing Shang-Chi and Moon Knight, I'm like, come on. I can't believe it. I can't believe it.
I agree.
What are the odds we get Agents of Atlas with Jimmy Woo?
Oh, that would be dope too. Are we going to get that?
Probably, yeah.
There are people that are asking for it. You know, they're saying, now that he's shown up in WandaVision, and Darcy said, leadership looks good on you, and everybody went, that's Agents of Atlas. I was like,
yeah,
hold on, wait, don't jump too far. But it would be interesting, because if they lean him into his James Bond shtick as opposed to being the comedic relief, might be kind of fun.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
I mean, I'm curious. I'll see where they go. I mean, look, whether you like WandaVision or not, the quality of the filmmaking was certainly there. They're not sparing any expense. So I'm hoping Falcon and Winter Soldier is great. I'm hoping Black Widow is great. Loki looks really interesting. So we'll see.
Yeah, I mean, I have high hopes. I don't think the MCU is going anywhere anytime soon. I don't think they lost a shit ton of people. Sure, there's going to be some people who are going to inevitably fall out after Endgame, but I think there will be enough stuff to keep a lot of people on board. I don't think the fumbles like Captain Marvel or how WandaVision didn't stick the landing exactly, or even things that are probably going to be bad coming forward are going to kill the MCU. It's going to take a lot to kill the MCU, I think.
Yeah.
Basically, where we're at. Steven Otten says, I never thought there would be an action figure from Lust Caution. Maybe I will live just long enough to see everything.
There's actually two. It's the guy and the girl. It's and Tony Leung, and I have a fetish for action figures that come with chairs. And it comes with a chair. It comes with a chair. Like, look, I got my Well, I don't. You can see.
I was watching.
Oh yeah, you can. I have my.
You had the
Charlie Chaplin with the chair right there.
Yeah, I was gonna say I watched the one with the Godfather one, and you were complaining because it didn't come with all the stuff. It's like the chair and stuff.
Yeah, it's on the box, man. I'm like, why did it come with the chair? Although my Vito Corleone came with the chair.
Yeah, you were saying that.
So and I'll tell you something. You know what's really crazy? Even though he never sat in it, this is actually the couch from Marcellus Wallace's house.
Oh, nice.
And here's the tape deck from Marcellus Wallace's house, the 6-scale version. But John Travolta never sits in his couch. Yes, here you go. Da-na-na-na. There you go. A 6-scale. How many people have a 6-scale tape deck? Come on,
man. I envy you.
I don't know what I'm gonna do with it, but
I don't care either. I would be the same way. I'd have it. I wouldn't know what to do with it, but it's just like I have it. That's all.
I know that's it's just enough. It's just enough to know it's there.
Exactly. It's there. No, I totally understand that. And speaking of which, we were here, but I think it's time we be gone. We've been doing this for almost 2.5 hours, and you guys have been great watching us this whole time. Thank you so much. Yes, Travis, he has a chair fetish. That's a first.
I do a chair fetish for a 6th scale action figure chair fetish. I know it's weird. I got a Tony Montana that has a great chair with the TM. Vito Corleone with a great chair. Charlie Chaplin with a good chair. I've got the 6th scale captain's chair from Star Trek.
There you go.
You know, Thanos. I just bought the chair. I have the Throne of Wakanda at 6th scale. You know, and give me a chair. It's so weird, but what can I tell you?
Montana.
Tony Montana.
I just got a Star Wars mini mail lunchbox for $8.
Nice.
That's good. You know, what I did not get was the Emperor Palpatine's throne. I did not. Ooh, that's a nice lunchbox.
Vintage store in San Pedro, Robert.
You could put your weed in, man.
There you go.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, you can dry it out. That's there you go.
Yeah, man.
Oh, we still got Echo Base in the chat as well. I didn't know.
Oh, hail.
Around.
Hail.
I'm assuming that's Nick.
Hail.
All right. I think we need to end this because I know Robert's probably curious. What the hell are you guys talking about?
I need to piss like a racehorse.
I'm assuming so. So we're gonna forego all the normal stuff. Check out all these folks' channels if you haven't already, and we will see you on the flip side. We'll see you tomorrow morning on Midnight's Edge in the morning. So.